Better leave it to the professionals.
Blessed by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Car era lore. Call me Levi playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Reviews not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I gotta shout out
Started
the
off with a
boy.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in shoes. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the ride with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain GM. Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't already done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below. Then head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. We greatly appreciate it. Warms up the algo, lets everyone know we're here, and does us a solid. While you're up there, go ahead and hit the GMs over in the YouTube streets. We got Big Bear lighting up YouTube as well as the X video feed. We're live on X today from my account as well as the Abstract stream. GM to all of our Abstract GMers. Appreciate all of you over there. The abstract chat might be the most lit chat of all the chats if you're not yet joined us over there. And I don't know if it's much, but you might grind out a few extra XP while you're over there chatting. And it's my account today, so the big tips are they double your XP as opposed to when it's Steve's day on Abstract. I kid, but we appreciate all of you again as always. Give us a like on the post or on the post for the day's space. Go hit the carousel, those reminders for tomorrow's show and Friday. We've got an extra special guest joining us tomorrow, so we'd love a full house for our guest. And
I think Friday now.
Friday. Okay, never mind.
No, it was supposed to be tomorrow. You were correct. It was supposed to be tomorrow. Just checked my email, so I sent it out this morning, but gonna redo it. So I think Doodle's on Friday, most likely.
Nice. Well, go hit both those reminders anyways, but definitely hit the Friday. Let's get a full house in here for him. Some big news. I actually was playing around Lord of the Files yesterday. Maybe we'll hit on that a little bit today. A lot to chat about. So as always, I'm Cap, joined by my co-host Steve. Never any financial advice on the show. Crypto's risky, NFTs are risky, meme coins exceptionally risky. Go to 0 moment's notice. Please never put any money in you can't afford to lose. And know that Steve and I are not financial advisors, certainly not yours. We're just here for some information, some education, and some fun along the way. And we do hold tokens we'll talk about from time to time. So just keep that in mind. GM Steve, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Had a GM to all the people out there. By the way, give us a like or retweet, a comment in the room. As mentioned regularly, like, look, we don't sell you things, but the way you can, help us out is you could tip Cap over on Abstract, should you so choose. It's on his today. You could save those big tips for tomorrow, even better when I'll be on there. That would be totally fine too. But you could also give us a like, or retweet, a comment on the room to get us going, especially the X space, which has been slower to discover. Appreciate everyone on Abstract, as Cap mentioned. Big bump in following over there on Abstract, which we very much appreciate for sure. So we do we are grateful for that chat as well. GM to everybody out there. This is my crypto name out there. Beanie McFly early on with the quick work. Chief out there. FFV every single morning. Dobbins, Aspiring Nobody, Odeka, Dwayne, Kazi, Clay out there never misses. Appreciate that. Mel, Big Bear, all of our good friends, multiple chat folks. Novan Frunton celebrating a big day today. I saw on Instagram the old wedding anniversary, so he won't be in the chats, but he's usually a triple chatter. But Cap, I want to get your take on something. I had a
big day today, Steve.
What's that?
I'm celebrating a big day today.
What's that?
Well, 8 p.m.
Are you buying the jacket, the Pudgy jacket?
Nope. I didn't know Pudgy jacket's dropping today. This is the Hundreds Collab or a different one?
Well, I mean, so you said 8 p.m. You're wearing a 100 shirt. I believe at 8 p.m. is the time I want to say that the Hundreds drop.
I thought it was a shirt. I didn't realize it was a jacket. What kind of jacket is it? All I saw was the Pingu bomb. It's cute. It's not like it's entirely unrelated. Yes. No, not what I'm excited about. 8 p.m. I probably will not be buying a jacket. How much is it?
They have not listed price yet. I'm seeing if I could find the pictures of it.
Yeah, because I'm out. Like I don't mind it. It's fine. It's just not the greatest quality for like a streetwear brand. It's kind of like it's okay. I rock the Blue Hundreds Bored Ape Yacht Club collaboration. That blue hoodie, I probably wore more than any other hoodie in my life. It's fine. It's just not. I don't think it's like high-end apparel by any means. And
it's got that stiff feel and look to it, which I think is supposed to be high-end, but like I don't really like it. So here's the jacket.
It doesn't wash well. Like after a few washes, it's like it's just like kind of hard.
Yeah, it's cardboardy, it feels like. But there's this is the jacket. So I was ramped up and ready to buy.
I just saw the shirt. I didn't see the jacket.
I'm not gonna wear the big white t-shirt. So I guess like I'm out on this one. It's not for me, which is fine. Ooh. It's probably not for me.
The jacket was okay until I saw the back. I'm not a big. Yeah, it's too much.
That's what Rake said. Rake said the back was a little much. So that's
corduroy.
Yeah, it looks like it's corduroy when you look at it. Which
corduroy
is like,
coming back.
I mean, I big jeans and corduroy. I could see the Zoomers wearing. I don't know. The jacket is fine.
Seems like how's this not happened yet? Corduroy seems very much in line with the Zoomer mullets and their style today. No,
I'm sure. I think I've seen it. Seen it.
Makes sense.
But no,
it's like a perfect fit for these Zoomers, I feel.
Yeah, no, the jacket, like
the corduroy generation. It was like before us, a little bit. It kind of tried to make a comeback. I remember, I think I might have had a pair of corduroy pants or two, but just like it was like our parents' generation and the Zoomers. We missed the corduroy generation.
Yeah, it was like the early '80s or something like that. Mm-hmm. I never really got into it, and
like I probably had my mom probably put corduroy pants on me as a kid in the early '80s.
Yeah, and you look like fucking Paddington Bear probably. I wasn't a fan either. It wasn't my jam. But hey, if the kids are gonna rock them, good for them. I was bummed only because look, I'm clearly not the target audience, but I was hoping for a hoodie because I love the Penguin Adam Bob collab. Like I think that looks cool. The penguin on the bomb is like cute, but then it's like spicy, right? Because it's got the bomb. But I'm not gonna get the shirt because I'm not a big white t-shirt guy. It just doesn't work well with me to wear a big boxy shirt. And the corduroy jacket won't be my jam. So I'll be sitting this one out. But very cool apparel that they're putting out, and I'm glad they're doing the collab because I think it looks good. But what do you have at 8 p.m. tonight?
It is the NFL schedule reveal. So it's my last day of plus EV drafting before the schedule reveals, and then everyone starts flocking towards their week 17 matchups.
Yeah,
week 17 matchups. Like right now, we've all been drafting blind. My best drafts, like I can say this now because it's the results are in. Like I absolutely crushed pre-draft. Like my pre-draft best ball it's the greatest closing line value I've ever had in any sort of contest like this. I mean, I was drafting players like RJ Harvey at like in the 170s, and he's now been steamed up all the way to the 50s. I did this because he was an incredibly talented running back. I knew he was going to do well at the combine, and hoping he gets good landing spot. Just so happens he lands in Denver and probably has the lead role. Anyways, I'm not even joking. I might have over 100 players where I have positive closing line value in my pre-draft best ball portfolio, and post draft, these players have been steamed up, but I still feel there's a little bit of an edge, and so I've continued to fire. But we're firing blind, right? So, like, for instance, if I don't know, like yesterday, I grabbed a Puka, Devontae Adams, Stafford, Terrence Ferguson stack. If they end up playing, let's say, the Bengals in week 17, all those players are going to get steamed up, right? So it's like, I feel like today's the last day to get values before they have smack. Now, it can go both ways. You know, they could end up getting, the Rams could play in Cleveland in week 17, and it's a really bad stack because you don't want to risk that weather. But yeah, this is, and there was a big, I know like not many are, probably no one's as deep as I am, but this was a very, it's interesting because, you know, like our crypto space can be a little dramatic at times. DFS and best ball, not quite as much, but there was like a lot of people had a meltdown this past week because ETR, who's like the leader in projections and contents, it's Adam Levitan and Evan Silva, and a few others that are they've just have an incredible team. They've been around forever and they're the leader. So they're like the KOLs in DFS and best ball. And so if they do something that gets the space's attention. In fact, if you want to be contrarian, just look at ETR's projections every week and fade their highest projected players, because that's where they move the market. They absolutely move both DFS and best ball marks. If they update their, like, had they had RJ Harvey as a 50th ranking pre-draft, he would have been way up the draft boards. They didn't have him there though. So anyways, long story short, they released this product. It's you're familiar with poker. So think of it like a heads up display, right? It's an overlay when you're drafting best ball that just helps. It like shows like your portfolio. You have X percentage of this player on this team. You already drafted Brock Purdy. So you should, a late round flyer might be DeMarcus Robinson, the finisher stack. Like it basically, it makes suggestions on who you should draft. So it helps the casuals who may not be as dialed in. And this isn't new though. These overlays have been out for literally years, and it can help a casual player. It also can help grinders like myself be more, we can just get in more volume. We can just be more efficient, but it's not a new product. Anyways, long story short, ETR, the leader in the space, was like one of the only ones that didn't have one of these heads up displays, like a Chrome extensions. This is going to set us up for talking about Ethos here in a second. I promise. Appreciate everyone who could care less about sports. I'll speed through this and we'll move it right in. Well, they announced this. Again, there's probably a half dozen of these overlays available from competitors. ETR announces it and the space melts down. Like, oh my God, you're ruining the game. People start like, I don't think anyone went as far as death threats, but Adam Levitan's like, he came on a pod the next day with Pete Rivers. He's like, man, I'm depressed. I've never had this much vitriol spewed at me online ever. Like people attacking him for putting out a competing product that already exists. It doesn't violate the terms and conditions of Underdog. Now they don't allow automation, but they have no issues with suggestion. And long story short, the entire best ball community is in a tizzy because a KOL founder released a competing product that already exists, but because they did it, the space is in an uproar thinking they're ruining the game because, you could jump in and put this overlay on and be just as good as me best drafting in best ball now. And I kind of get it from both sides because I think I think this is the last year of plus EV best ball where I liken it like the early days of DFS. DFS was very beatable in the early days. I was extremely profitable. There's so many tools. There's these sites like ETR that have these great projections. So now a casual can jump in, play one lineup, and have access to the same knowledge and information that I have listening to 100 hours of content that week. So it's like they democratize the game and the strategy. It's starting to happen in best ball now. Even though these tools have been available for years, most people weren't aware of them. And now that ETR has one, people are melting down because they think their EV is going to evaporate. Anyways, in my rant, and maybe that does set us up for Chrome extension talk.
But their EV. So two things on that. And we could jump into whatever. But like one, I mean, their EV doesn't theoretically evaporate. You're just looking at EV based on somebody's projections who's really high value. So you just have to say, I'm going to have the edge.
Right now, like I'm better than most people drafting best ball without any tools. I'm just better. It's not like I'm better. I put more time in. I'm more.
You know the market.
I have a pulse on the market.
Best ball is a market you're trying to beat, just like anything else, and just like certain people.
I just have an edge. I have an edge. I'm not like this isn't like being arrogant. I have an edge. I know the game better. I've been playing it longer. I understand the game theory, and I'm a profitable player. Like I have an edge over a casual player. The EV is evaporating because the edge I have, like I don't need the overlay. I can use it. It's fine. I don't have anything against it. I don't need it. Like I know how to play the game. Most people don't understand it to the depths where this tool, it fast tracks a casual, someone who just started playing today. They could use this overlay, and maybe they're not as good as me, or they don't have as much information. But whereas before, it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, I might be a 9, they might be a 2. Now I'm an 8 and they're a 7. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like going to the NFL. Like maybe you're a great receiver in college and you can get big separation. You get to the NFL, separation's a little tighter when you add that overlay. It makes sense.
Yeah, the separation between me and the casual, it's evaporating with these extra tools. And now you got to pay like $35 a month for it. So there is still a little bit left. But I just like everything. I think you're going to be able to get these extensions for like $5 a month next year. Like it's just like,
oh, good. Sorry.
The space will continue to evolve. The tools will continue to get better and cheaper. More will bring them out, and it's so it was a very drama filled week in that community, and it's just like it was kind of like, huh, and like people are losing their minds over the drama. I'm like, man, you could tell these people are not in crypto because this is like an average Tuesday for us here.
Yeah, one question. Why don't they have more IKB style best ball drafts? Because I don't have any desire to get into a draft, but I would do that all day with the daily fantasy. Pick this person. Like, why doesn't that exist anywhere except for IKB?
Why doesn't best ball exist to where you build a team versus drafting a team? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
like the IKB style. Good question.
Like it seems easy. It seems like it'll require less work on the form of the platforms. You just have to put out the scores and let people pay and enter. And that's what I would prefer. Like I don't do fantasy anymore. Like when I was in my 20s, the draft was like, let's get some beers, go to a house, do the draft. Oh, maybe we'll watch a preseason game. Oh, it's going to be. And now I'm like, I don't have time for that shit. I just want to go through and click buttons. I don't want to. So I'm not.
I mean, hats off to IKB for building a new, different type of game that is niche.
I loved it. Like I loved watching it every week because of that. And
see, I prefer drafting versus building the teams.
Well, because you have the edge over the people drafting in that case, right? Like that's you have a way extra edge in a draft. So I understand that.
Yeah, I guess theoretically, because part of it too, like there's no time limit on building a team, right? So you could study, you could take research. Or I think part of my edge is I also like you could do a slow draft, which is like you have 8 hours to make your pick. You could do a regular, which is 30 seconds, or you could do the fast drafts, which are 20 seconds to make your pick. So I always do the 20 seconds because I don't need 30 seconds. I know who I'm picking. I queue up my players. I could probably pick on a 5-second clock and be fine. So I want the shorter clock because there's going to be someone else in most of the drafts I'm playing in that's not going to be they're not using overlay. They're not going to be as good as me. And they're going to get on the clock right before they pick someone. Pick right before them, snipe the player they wanted, and they don't know who they pick, and they run out of time and they make a mistake. Like, so I prefer the more challenging game, but yeah, I don't know why to answer your question. You would think it would make sense that DraftKings and Underdog, especially DraftKings, because they already have the salary cap format. Like for them, it'd be just the same thing they already do, just make a season-long version of it. And yeah, good question. I don't know why they don't offer that. It doesn't make much sense.
No, it doesn't. Real quick story before we get out of cold open. I want to get your take. If I understand I don't really have a right to be mad about this, but I was kind of mad yesterday, completely unrelated to crypto. Daughter has a choir concert. 2 months before she gets to this choir concert, she goes to me, she goes, Dad, I got a solo. I want to surprise Mom. I want to practice with you, all these other things. Up until yesterday, for 2 months, we keep this thing a secret. We show up in the concert and we sit down, and like, actually there's a sheet that they have that shows the solos. So like Dawn's looking at it, my wife, and I'm like, oh yeah, let me see that. And I'm like acting like I'm trying to turn it into a paper airplane with my son or something just to get it off her. And my father-in-law's like wife, his sort of new wife, just turns around and goes, oh, your daughter has a solo. Does your daughter have a solo or something? Ask the question to my wife. And like, by the way, there was no reason for her to ask this question. She was just, she likes to fill the silence. So like there was no small talk to try to fill the silence. I told her not to feel bad about it. I was obviously kind in the moment. I was really mad. She like scooped me by 20 minutes. Like, and it was like, I guess my thing is like, it's fine. She was trying to make small talk. She didn't know, but like, what value is that? It was written on the paper. If my wife saw it, she saw it. If she didn't, she didn't. Like, she was just trying to engage us. But like, I was so like, I think I was just mad because there's like a build up to this thing and it happened, but it's like, bro, like, what are we doing here? And she didn't know, but like, Man, that sucks ass, man. Imagine going 2 months. She wanted the first time my wife saw it to be when she walked up to like the microphone with her 3 friends. And then she like walked up and had her solo. She crushed it, by the way. She took all the advice. She even took some of my advice and imparted it onto her friend who then used that advice and also had a good solo. Am I out of line being upset here? I was really disappointed, man. I think
disappointed is the right word. Yeah, disappointed is the right word. Maybe be disappointed over upset, but congrats to your daughter. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, she did a good job. It was just like literally that close to getting it over the goal line. And then I'm freaking, like she turns around. She's like, oh, she has a solo. I'm like, what are you doing here? Yeah. And then if Intoxicated says, should have told him to keep quiet. It's my fault. It didn't even like occur to me. Like, because I don't know, like the whole different conversation. I don't like talk a ton to my father-in-law nor her that often. So like, I wouldn't have the conversation. I knew they were coming to the concert, but, so I wouldn't have even had the chance to, I don't even think I have her number, but like, man, it was one of those things that just like the floor fell out and my stomach dropped. I tried to dance around it for a minute and then she like kept going. Cause like my wife was like, no, she doesn't. And then like, she kept pushing and pulled up the sheet and I was like, all right. And I'm like, no. And they're like, yeah, but it's right here. And I'm like, stop. So anyway, that sucked, but whole different story, whole different ball of wax. Again, give us a like, a retweet, a comment on the room. We're going to talk some abstract TGE. We'll talk a little bit about Ethos. CryptoPunks. We didn't really hit on the CryptoPunk sale yesterday, so we could hit on that one. That's a good point. We should probably start on
kind of a big deal.
Yeah, like what? So give me your take. Let's talk CryptoPunks. I think there's a lot of angles to talk here. I was going to talk do you want to talk? Yeah, let's talk CryptoPunks early because that broke yesterday right at the end of the show. What's your take on the CryptoPunk sale?
I'm a big fan. I think it's a great move. I think it's a win-win-win across the board. I've seen both. I've seen a bunch of different opinions on this. I've seen all different kinds of sides. I literally just saw it. Excuse me, a thread from Marcel that I pinned up top. This has been rumored forever. I don't think. Let me rewind. I think it made a lot of sense for Yuga to buy CryptoPunks when they bought CryptoPunks. Today, the market, what Yuga is building, I haven't for a while. I haven't thought it made any sense for them to continue to own CryptoPunks. I mean, really, it was kind of probably the sign to me was when they did the Nina Chanel thing and got met with so much blowback. I'm like, this is just not, it just doesn't make sense for them. They're never going to be able to generate revenue off of this and keep people happy. They want, the punk holders want them to do nothing, but yet then they're just like, it just makes no sense. You're holding presumably a very valuable asset, however you want to put value on that. They're holding an iconic asset and have no ability to monetize it, no ability to make money. It doesn't fit with anything they're building per se. They're not an art company. This is just not what they're doing. They're a tech company, and this made sense back in the NFT mania for them to, for many reasons. We don't have to go back that whole time. But now it just doesn't make any sense how they did it. It was let me just pull up this post so I can give you give you a little better breakdown here. How they did it, I feel. First of all, this Node Foundation, brand new nonprofit, was formed. It's fresh. Like, I think, like in the post I'm trying to pull up now, you can't even see the. I don't know why I can't find the post on my desktop. One sec. You can't see the. You can't even find like the nonprofit info listed on the IRS site yet. It's so fresh. It was funded by the founder of Ribbit Capital, made a $25 million donation to the Node Foundation to make this acquisition. Then the amounts that got shared was a $20 million purchase price to Yuga for Node Foundation. NODEFND is the X account. Again, you can see here, complete unknown dark horse, a nonprofit, received official status on November of 2024. You can check the IRS using the EIN number. Form 990 hasn't been filed since they're too fresh. Then on April 17th, so about a month ago, the foundation received a $25 million donation from Mickey. Mickey's X account is Mickey Malka. Mickey's the founder and managing partner of Ribbit Capital. Mickey and his wife Becky. The donation came via their family vehicle fund. And then again, the sale was announced yesterday. So part of this is this. This is what got me excited. It's the founders of Yuga Labs are sitting on the board. It's Gordon and it's Snowfro. This, a nonprofit holding the CryptoPunks IP, makes a lot more sense than a for-profit company that was once valued at over $1 billion. Like, it just, for so many reasons, if you zoom out and forget about the history and how we got here, I don't think I could be convinced that it would make sense for Yuga to continue to hold this IP. Makes a lot more sense in a nonprofit, from my opinion. And I'm not deep in the fine art world by any means. This just seems like it would be better for the brand and what they're the vision of CryptoPunks. I've seen some people poking fun at the amount. Luca came out and said I would have gave 75 million. I don't know as if Luca would be the best steward.
It seemed like that was kind of a backfire because a lot of people were like, this is not the right person. So,
Yeah,
you
agreed.
don't always want to go to the highest bidder. You want to go to the best bidder or
He
something.
would be the best steward. And I don't think you can find better stewards than the creators, Gordon and Snowfro. I just like, this is I think it's a huge one for CryptoPunks. My initial gut was I've had these feelings before. I'm really now like angry at myself for not swapping an ape for a punk back when I had the chance. I got greedy. I wanted a forever punk. I had numerous times I had offers I could have swapped for a floor punk. They just didn't resonate with me. Never pulled the trigger. And this is just, I think this is exciting for the brand. I think it's exciting for what they're doing. And it just makes sense for art that's on chain, and the goal, whether it's getting in museums or whatever they want to do, it just made no sense for Yuga. And when you talk about like the purchase price, I saw someone tweet this morning, like, let me get this right. Yuga bought Moonbirds for 250 million and sold punks for 20 million. No, that is so misleading. First of all, they didn't pay any cash for Moonbirds.
They didn't pay anything for Moonbirds. It was an equity deal.
It was an all-stock deal. They got handed a treasury somewhere between $50 to $100 million. So they basically got paid north of $50 million to take on the liability that was proof. Very, very different. And here, they sold the IP. They still hold 400 punks. They basically sold.
They hold more punks than they do apes.
Yeah, they sold 5 punks, and the IP, which for all intents and purposes is non-monetizable. I get they could do something with it, but not in a nonprofit. Like, what are they going to do? Like, like, I don't know. It just like this just makes so much sense on every level to me. And it's like the people who are saying like taking shots at like, oh, they only sold it for 20 million. Like, what did they sell? What did they sell? Like, seriously, what did they sell for $20 million? 5 punks and IP. That's like, they basically, it's an arm length transaction where they're basically, I'm assuming there's probably some massive tax incentives here as well. I'm not, again, at these levels, but nor do I know exactly what they paid for CryptoPunks when they did, but I'm guessing that there's probably this was probably a very advantageous deal for Yuga, if I were to guess, for something that made no sense for them to continue to hold the IP, for my opinion. Like, in your, why, what's the best use case, or what's the best reasoning for why Yuga shouldn't have done this deal? Why they should have held the CryptoPunks IP?
So I think they should I think this is the right deal. I actually agree with everything you're saying wholeheartedly. I think that the board is great. I think they did a great job going to a nonprofit. I'll be curious to see, is the nonprofit going to do things like what they're doing, like what they're currently doing with the Toledo Museum of Art, where punks are displayed there. I don't know who owns those punks, but like, that's a great example of, something that a nonprofit would probably be more dedicated to doing. It's sort of a side quest for Yuga in that sense. I don't know. I'm trying to like synthesize my thoughts because there's a lot here. So I think everything you said is true. The thing that I'm trying to reconcile, and I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't sound as it's not intended, is Yuga was making an attempt to add an art division and sort of like push more and be like I think Yuga had this idea of being like all things, like, which I think is a good goal. So let me make an analogy in a different way. I think Luca and Igloo are doing all things on chain, as far as they have they have Abstract, they have Pengu and the meme coin, and they have they have an ecosystem, they have a meme coin, and they have an NFT brand that is proliferating IP. all of those things make sense for what they're building. All of those things make sense for what they're doing. And Rare Ed says, to be clear, notice said there for the proliferation of digital art, all 10,000 punks will be continuously displayed at Node, but they will support other collections. I guess like my thing is like, Yuga, released a fine art collection and raised some money on ordinals with their, 12.5 or whatever those were, right? 12-fold. Sorry. Mixed it up with Gary V's book there. I don't know how I feel about like they were trying to spin up these different divisions. Now they're hyper focused on other side in the club and they're trying to get back to basics. Again, I think I get why that's good. What I'm trying to express is it bums me out that, the way Amazon expanded, the way that, Igloo's expanding and things that make sense for them and their audience. Like they had this expansion into sort of this digital art department and they're trying to be more things on chain, which were logical for them based on like, Gordon and Garga's interest, based on the team's interest. Like, I don't think they'd be selling off CryptoPunks if it wasn't like, hey, we need the money to build this other thing. And like, look, the hyper focus.
Honestly, I don't think it has anything to do with the money. Maybe it does. I mean, sure. Hey,
I think it has a lot to do with. I know. Like, why would they sell it if they didn't need the money?
I think this decision was made as soon as they got the blowback from the Nina Chanel thing. I mean, Garga said, "Okay, fine, we're done. We're not doing another thing with it. You guys win. We hear you. It's over." And I think from that point on, like, okay, this doesn't make sense for us to do anything with this brand anymore. We should unload it. We're only going to be like, there was nothing good that Yuga could do that was going to be met with 100% support and excitement from that community. I think this decision probably was made the day Garga came out and said, "Fine, you guys win. We're gonna touch your precious punks. We're out." I like, sure, like the money helped, but I do not think that was the leading decision in this. I think it was like, hey, I think it was probably a business decision. Like, this doesn't make sense for us to hold this thing anymore. We're only gonna no good's gonna come of it. Only bad things are gonna come from us. Anytime we drop anything, people are gonna be pissed.
So, like, honest question, and like you may think this, but like if Yuga's valuation had gone from 4 billion to 10 billion over the past couple of years instead of the opposite direction with Web3 and overvaluation stuff. I'm not blaming Yuga on this. Do you think they would still be selling punks today, or do you think that they would? I think that they would be holding them as being like, hey, we have the top 2 collections, right? Like that would be.
Yeah, I would also say if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
Right, but that's like not it's not applicable here, right? I mean, that's like not the point is like
the market changed significantly. I think everything got overcooked, and I don't know as if they took big swings, and there was just, I don't think there was any scenario where that plays out like that. Like you could have hit everything out of the park. I don't think they go from 4 billion to 10 billion because the entire space imploded.
No, I get that, but my point is like it's more of like a business point of like, they're selling it to Focus because they're refocusing their business as part of what they're doing. But I guess my point is like, it's like, I don't know, like there's a big thing about like, hey, apes are the top PFP on the timeline right now. And now they, punks are the only thing competing. By the way, we now own punks as well. And they're part of the community. And we're going to bring in the part of the community. And we're going to spread digital culture through them. And we're going to continue to have punks be proliferated. And we're going to do brunches. And we're going to have them be part of this ecosystem. And like, we're bringing all the big things in Web3 under. We have the OG sophisticated people. We have the new school people and apes. And now it's sort of like.
But what did that ever do for Yuga? What did that ever do for ape holders? Or any, like, I don't like, it just never seemed like a fit. Like we've talked about how many, some of these punk holders are just, they're pretentious. Like they don't want to do anything to do with us because I rock an 8 PFP. It's just like, it seemed like.
Could Yuga have done like something with that? I guess is my point.
Maybe, but
like,
they didn't. Maybe, but they didn't. Is the point. My point is like, it wasn't, it just where we are today in 2025. I can't think of a single reason why Yuga should have not let go of the IP. I don't think it was doing anything for Yuga. I don't think it was doing anything for me as a Yuga brand ambassador and a supporter and someone deep in this ecosystem. Like, it's like, I don't care if they own punks. Like,
yeah, I agree. I agree with
a lot of like, oh, like the whole idea, like the punks are the top PFP. Like that's just not, like it's not changing outside of some crazy, future airdrop or some TGE. Like they won, like, and they should. They have their rightful spot on the throne, and I don't care if Yuga owns them or not. I don't think they should own them because I think it's a detraction from what they're attempting to build and accomplish. It's like owning punks. Okay, there's someone on the team they're paying. I don't know what they paid Natalie Stone. I'm guessing several $100,000 a year that could go to that's taking away from what Yuga is attempting to build for Bored Ape Yacht Club and everything else they're doing and other side. Like, And it wasn't just Natalie. There was effort and resources and capital that went into a book launch. Like, I don't think one thing they did with Punks was a profit center for them. Everything they did was a cost center. The brunches, people love the Punk brunches. I'm guessing those probably cost Yuga, I don't know, $10,000 to $50,000 every time they do a brunch. That's probably extreme, but depending on where it's at, and if they were doing a brunch in Monaco, it's probably 50 grand. Like, that stuff it's a expense for a company that, this isn't Amazon, this isn't Google. They may have been valued $1 billion, but they weren't cash flow positive. And companies that are in this startup mode, they shouldn't have it'd be like someone who's a scrappy 20-year-old that's grinding their face off, starting to decide like, oh, I made some money while I'm building my business. Instead of reinvesting that in my business, I'm going to go buy a bunch of trad art. I just made $20 million in my business. Instead of putting $20 million back into my business, I'm going to go buy an $18 million piece of art. That doesn't make much sense. And I think that's where they were from a business standpoint, is just made no sense for them to hold something that was a cost center for them.
I
don't see it adding any value to their brand. I don't see Punks.
I think that's where maybe that's the contention, is like, I think having Punks adds a ton of value to their brand. I think that because you own Punks, like the thing. That's not like, so it's not my, like, again, I'm not
it helps their balance sheet. But they still have 400 Punks on their balance sheet. Like, I don't.
But I'm not stoned, so it's not like my job to figure out
like how does owning Punks help them?
I mean, it's just, again, like, you don't think that having the top 2 PFP brands under one roof and things that you do with them is a positive, see, that's where I disagree.
What's one thing they've done together? There's not, it was just like,
that's not the point. What they did versus what they could have done versus having the brand is a completely different conversation. I agree with everything you said. Like, I think
it's a square peg and a round hole type thing. It made sense when the market was, when they, the way things heated up in the last Mania. Things change a lot. Like, this is an extremely different market than it was in 2021. Yuga is in a very different spot than 2021. And like, sometimes you have to change, you have to pivot. And like, had they not done this, I would be questioning, what the hell are they doing? Because they're not like, okay, so yeah, they could have started, okay, instead of selling it, we're going to do more with Punks. That's just going to piss off Punk holders.
Yeah, but to me, that's, I guess my point is like, it's sort of like a what could have been, I guess, is my point. And I know what it is now, which is why I'm fully agreeing with you.
I could have, should have, but they didn't. And so
exactly,
now that's why by washing their hands of it.
That's why I agree with you in principle. Like, but I guess in practice, what I'm saying is like, it's like, if they were kicking right now, I don't think they'd be selling, right? Is kind of my point I'm making. And they're obviously not, like, from a, nobody in Web3 is at that point. It's not the right fit. It makes sense. Like, every reason that they're selling it makes all the sense in the world. And by the way, phenomenal job with the board, phenomenal job with everybody they added, phenomenal job with who they sold it to. Like, it's really, really great. I'm trying to articulate, and Diablito was saying, like, I never even consider Punks part of Yuga. They always seems like something separate. I guess that's my point, is like, they acquired this amazing property. There was this huge celebration. We were all like excited about it. Like, and it just never kind of capitalized. And so I think it's like the right decision in that sense.
But it's not that they didn't attempt to do things. They did. They brought on they did this whole artist in residency. They attempted to proliferate the IP and move things forward. It was met with vitriol.
But that was also about execution to some degree, to be fair. Like, okay. That's not, but
like they didn't attempt to. They attempted, it didn't work. It didn't sure, it might have been execution, but it's not like they didn't attempt to do things. They did, it didn't work. And I was like, okay, they could attempt to do something again. Do you really think, like, what could they, like, let's say they don't sell, what could they do? Attempt to do now that would make Punk? I think that's like, they lost.
That's missing the point.
They already lost the opportunity to do something with the collection that would make Punk holders happy. I don't think it didn't work. It was met not just like mixed reviews. It was met with like really aggressive backlash.
Right, because it was not done
to do something else.
Because it wasn't. I think the execution mattered. I don't think people are
like, so they fire that person and hire someone new and try to do it again. That just seems.
No, that's not what I'm. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not like relitigating that they should have done this. I said I agree with all of the reasons you said. I said the reason it bums me out is because it's a very big, like, what could have been, and it's a sign of the market compared to like where Yuga was a couple years ago, where a couple years ago, like you said, they bought it. It made sense. They were sort of like the cock of the walk. They were buying all the stuff. Like,
and I don't even know if it made sense a couple years ago. I get it. Like, I'd like to ask him, like, if you could go back in time, would you have done that acquisition?
Well, they say no now, but that's in hindsight, right?
But I don't like, but in hindsight, with what we know, like, was it a good acquisition? I don't think it was. Like, I don't know what they paid. I don't know how, like, maybe it ends up working out okay financially because the tax write-off they're going to get from this is a great win. But I don't know if it was a great acquisition. Like I think that if you would go ask Garga and Gordon, they may decide. I mean, it probably plays out fine. And Gordon obviously he's sit on the board still, but I think there's reason to believe that if they could go back in time, they probably wouldn't have done it. Like it probably especially knowing what they know now that.
But if they had done a true artist in residence, for example, and they had worked with an artist that punks really were excited about, and they had dropped art that I don't think, but like they didn't have a true artist in residence, right? The artist didn't go in residence.
Nina Shell is a
no. That's not an opinion. Like we had art experts tell us it wasn't what an art in residence does. An art in residence actually goes and lives with a group, figures out what they do, and create for
process. But I thought you were
correct.
Artist.
No. Nina Chanel is a great artist. I'm saying like. She didn't like join the Discord, talk to the punk. She didn't go to brunches. She didn't have conversations. She just created something for them that they didn't want. Right. Like, and so I just think like it's if the Yuga came out with an airdrop for apes that was like something people didn't want, it would be completely different. My point being
my read, and I'm not a punk hoarder, so I don't know. My read is even if could they have executed better? Yes. I still am of the belief that even if they had done it perfectly and done it artist and residency program exactly like they should have done, I still think there's going to be a 20 to 50% of those punk holders who are still going to be pissed off because they're screwing up it's like they're never going to make everyone happy, and a large percentage of those
punks didn't complain about Meebits. They didn't complain about Meebits. Like I think if you do it right, it doesn't matter, and that's what I'm saying. Like punks didn't complain about Meebits as utility. They weren't like, hey, no utility punks. So I guess and I think people are like
same for Matt and John. I think there's some who just were anti-Yuga and they were going to complain about anything that Yuga did with their precious punks. That's my opinion. I think that there's maybe not all, certainly not all the punk holders. Some were probably for it. I think there was some punk holders who were just so anti-Yuga they were never going to win in this relationship.
So
it's the same reason that those same people are the ones who don't follow us, Steve. Like they hate Yuga for whatever reason. They hate Bored Ape Yacht Club. They hate Yuga. And they're going to be anti-brand ambassadors in this entire time. Like you saw, like some people were rejoicing because Yuga no longer owns them, yet Gordon is still sitting on the board. Like it's just like I think it's like there's some people who have a Yuga derangement syndrome that are punk holders, and I just don't think they were never going to get past that.
I don't agree with that. I get that. I get the point of the Yuga derangement syndrome, but I don't agree they could have gotten past that. I guess for example, I'm making it up. It wasn't my job. I didn't get paid 6 figures to have to figure out how to do these things. And by the way, Stone's great. I'm not knocking it or whatever, but it's like, imagine if they work with the founders on something because they acquired it from them, and those founders work with them on bringing in artists that punks like, and they actually had them talk about it. And they said, we want to create for the punks. How do we create for the punks in a way that doesn't, change what punks are? And then they work with them and they live with them and they create something for them alongside them. And I think that there was a opportunity that probably was missed there. And I guess my point is not everybody's like, oh, I think it was I agree with Cap and Joe. No, I agree that this was the right move at the time. It's going to a great place. I agree with the board. I agree with who they have. I think it's an awesome sale at the time. The reason it bums me out is in retrospect, it is a big what could have been. It's a sign of the market that this once $4 billion company that raised at a massive number is now selling off assets from one of the most premium assets in the space that they live in, right? Where you see others growing those asset, opportunities. And they're doing focus on the business. They're focusing on ApeChain. They're focusing on Yuga. Great. I agree with that. I'm 100% aligned. The reason it bums me out is it's more just a looking back retrospect. It's like, man, there's a lot they potentially could have done here, potentially. And it just felt like it didn't work out as well. And it bums me out because I want Yuga to be a brand that carries the flag for the space. They were once the most noteworthy brand that carries the flag for the space. They currently are not. And
you know what? I blame those pretentious punk owners because I agree with Captain Appius here. This
no fucking way. I mean, yes, but
overreacted to the Nina drop because the space came to the consensus it's okay to shit on Yuga. The art wasn't woke, and it would. And why would people complain over free money? Not much different than the Meebits, to your point. But at the same time, Matt and John were MIA and not involved at all at that time.
But that's my point.
Just shooting on Yuga. A lot of the OG punk holders. They're like the narrative leaders that it's okay to shit on Yuga. You got a company that here is doing as much, if not more, than any of these for NFTs than anyone. Like the punk run in 21 probably doesn't get to the extreme as it did. Punks probably aren't what they are today if not for NFT, if Yuga coming along in many names. But that became such an acceptable narrative. Let's just constantly shit on Yuga for anything they do. And because of that narrative that's led by a lot of these punk holders, I actually don't think there's anything that they could have done that would have made all of them happy.
See, I reject that. I reject that whole premise is the same as like, hey, I didn't make the soccer team because the coach didn't like me. It's like, if you're good enough, you make the soccer team. Like, it's like I get it. I agree with that. Like the whole idea of like what the beginning part of that, but you talked about like the initial drop, Matt and John weren't involved. So get Matt and John involved. Like that's an easy thing to do. That's a phone call. Have an artist actually sit with them, have them help pick the artist, have it be someone that they agree with, or find out like what is the type of art that the most punk holders hold by doing a wallet like analysis and being like, hey, would you like another piece from them? We're going to sanction it because we want to reward you. I'm not saying they should have done it. I'm not saying it wasn't a side quest they shouldn't have done based on everything we know now. What I'm trying to say is that to me,
I don't think we knew the extreme of the vitriol they would get met with from those punk holders when they bought punks. That came after the fact. Like they probably thought like, oh, this is going to be met with, everyone's going to love this because Matt and John haven't done anything. We're actually going to do, and I don't know as if they could have forecasted how pissed off so many of these punk holders would be every time Yuga did anything with the collection. And, they got new information. They said, okay, this isn't worth it to us. Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. And I think that there's a combination of execution, the punk holders themselves, and where the company and where the market is all combined into that, which is why I'm saying today it is the right decision. It bums me out to think that like a flagship brand that was acquiring brands within Web3 and trying to grow, I think it's right to pare back. They probably grew a little too fast, but like, I reject the premise of like, oh, it couldn't have been successful, number one. And number two, like the reason it's bumming me out is it's more of just an emotional reaction to say like, logically, this was the right decision. And I understand the reasoning for all the things you said. I love the sale. I love them getting money out of it. I love where it's going. I love the board that's sitting on it. I love what they're going to do.
Honestly, you know why I'm most excited? Because I think this could actually bring back some of that fun, not like, I don't know how to describe it, because like with the whole like war on the floor, when apes first flipped punks, that never felt PvP to me. Like the space became extremely PvP, but in 2021, it was like fun. It was like fun competition. And that like doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it's like, oh, punks won, it's over. I don't know. Like, I think this could actually bring back a little bit of more friendly competition. Like and competition isn't even the right word. I don't even know how to describe it, but there was definitely a different feeling after Yuga acquired them from the, I don't know. It's just like, I understand like what could have been, but.
And it makes me sad. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Makes me sad.
It's fine to feel that way. I just don't know. I don't know if it was the likelihood of that what could have been was ever going to happen just because of the, I don't know, you can call it baggage isn't the right word, but there's just a lot of Yuga haters in that, specifically in that community for whatever reason. And it just was I think it was going to be a very tough marriage anyway it would have went forward. Even if they would have executed it perfectly, I think some people still would have been pissed. But I did see we invoked Captain Dad Pants, jumped up on stage. GM, go ahead and get in here. Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, GM guys, you always get me going in the mornings. Great combo as always. I think the Bored Apes and Yuga as a whole have been getting a lot of unfair hate for the past couple of years. I'm not really sure why it started or what caused it. I think there is a point in time where just the whole Web3 community kind of turned against apes and even PFPs and NFTs as a whole, and kind of shifted towards just like trashing them as a technology and utility and all that stuff, and then really pushing meme coins, and it just kind of accelerated this like get rich quick scheme type thing, and kind of took away a lot of the stuff. And I think a lot of the hate coming from the Nina drop was not just from punks, but from the wider Web3 community. And I do think like the punks like kind of encouraged it and kind of made it acceptable. But I mean, yeah, like they could have probably gone about it and like onboarded Nina a little bit better to the space, but like she was onboarded to the space as like a big artist. I don't really know why that's like being shit out here.
When did the space flip on Yuga? Is this correlated? Like, did the space flip on Yuga after they acquired punks?
No, the space was waiting for
real quick.
The space. I'll give a take on this. By the way, like I'm not like knocking Nina. By the way,
because I've never even had this conscious thought, but it was like everyone. Yuga doesn't miss. Don't fade Yuga. Everyone that was here was not everyone. It felt like most people were rooting for Yuga. Most people realized this was something really special. They caught lightning in a bottle. This has done tremendous things for the space. And then all of a sudden, it literally does seem like all of a sudden, people that weren't in the community flip to like they're the worst thing for this space. They're horrible. Like fuck Yuga. Like what?
This is just society. This is how it happens, right? It's like
what was it? What was
because there's a small number of people who are haves. There's a lot of people who are have-nots. A lot of them, first of all, there are a lot of dicks in the Bored Ape Yacht Club. We can't like ignore the fact that the Yieldosaurus tweet wasn't an isolated incident. There's a lot of people who would like get into those battles, number one. So like we have to have that accountability there.
I feel the flip occurred before the Yieldosaurus tweet.
I'd have to look at my timeline, but I whether it did or didn't, my point being, when you look at how people love the Chiefs until they won a couple of Super Bowls, then it's like, oh, the refs are making out with Patrick Mahomes in edits. People love the Warriors when they were scrappy, and then they won a few, and they're like, we don't like the Warriors anymore. What's going on with Steph? They're making fun of Aisha Curry, his wife. They're going after Draymond. Like, this is what the world does, right? They support something, and they lift it up, and a small group of people are beneficiaries. What happens with like, Boston was a lowly sports town, and then they started winning shit, and everyone's like, these guys are cocky assholes who are yelling in our face. Like, this happens in every single industry you see. So when the space flipped on Yuga, I think it was, one, there's a lot of apes who are being cocky assholes at times, right? That happens. Like, we all saw it. It's not the core community, but it's a loud vocal few. Two, they were printing, and everything was going in Don't Fade Yuga. But the second there's blood in the water, people turn. It's what you see all the time. It's how people approach things. It's like people look for blood in the water to turn on things at people that are big up top. And it is what it is. And like B Epic says, there was a time when spaces with apes weren't great, right? The people had arrogance. I saw a lot of apes who got propped up who had no idea what they were talking about. Respectfully, they would try to make these big old points because they're like, look, I'm a financial genius because I minted a monkey picture for $250. So I think a lot of people got upset about a lot of things that were happening there. And so I think, like, to me personally, the space was like, the turn was what people were just waiting for. Oh my God, these celebrities like them, these other people like them. People were waiting to turn on apes because, one, there's a lot of jerks. Two, they were winning. And and the more like apes went from this scrappy little, I always described it like when apes started up and they were like a 1E floor and CryptoPunks were like massively above them. Apes were like the little brother jacking their tighty whities up to their nipples and punching their big brother in the face where they could, right? That was what apes were. And then suddenly they flipped and they started getting a little cocky. They started getting all the airdrops. People were posting screenshots of their offers and saying, I'm not taking this offer for $300,000 for my monkey picture. Other people were like, I can't even afford that. It sucks. I missed the run. And so when things went sideways, when like other side drop happens and they eat a bunch of gas, when the games started to go sideways, right, with the Allegre era, and you saw things going sideways, suddenly people were looking for the blood in the water and looking for the opportunity. Pudgy took really good advantage of that, where their community became the next scrappy upstart that came through, and we just saw that fall. So I agree with what you're saying, and I agree with Captain Dad Pants on this. I think all of those are really fair points about how people felt about it and what the punks were. Like, I guess what I'm saying, and I'm probably not articulating well, is one, if business was booming, you're not selling the punks. You're just probably finding a way to continue to grow out the art division. Maybe it just wasn't the side quest they were looking for. Two, it makes me sad to think about because you want in an industry like this a few flagship companies to escape and be like the bastions and the flag carriers of the space. Yuga still, I'm not saying Yuga isn't one of those, but Yuga looked like they were going to be like, oh man, Yuga, you got Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is a great networking club. They run Ape Fest, which is an event that they run massively every year that they get a bunch of sponsors for with these major brands. Oh, by the way, they're launching Other Side, this big decentralized metaverse. By the way, they also have CryptoPunks, which are the absolute OG PFP. They have an entire art department that they're building out that's working on that. And to go from that to the focus, good for the business, good for the brand. Agree with all that. As an ape holder, I'm thrilled. It's a side quest they no longer have. As a third person in the space, I'm bummed that they're not going to be stewards of all these things. And that's all I'm saying is like, what could have been makes me sad. I don't think it was an unsuccessful, unwinnable mission. I'm not saying it wasn't a hard mission, but I'm saying like, and I'm not trying to critique how they did any sort of like, whatever, like we talked about, like the artist in residence, all that stuff. It just bums me out. It's like, it's a bummer to me. And that's why I'm feeling emotional is the wrong word. I'm just like bummed about it is that, so it's just, I'm trying to like say that those are two separate thoughts where I agree with everything everyone's saying. I agree with the points of the punk holders. I'm just bummed. I'm bummed. I wanted Yuga to be I wanted Yuga to keep gobbling up brands and be like, hey, we know how to do PFP utility better than anybody else. So we're going to get Moonbirds, and we're going to bring them back from the dead and make them really great, right? Like, because, we had seen everything that happened with them. We're going to maybe go after, 10 KTF, and we're going to find ways to put these wearables on the other side and make this all great. Like, I wanted them to be that company that makes all the logical acquisitions and continues to grow the way you're seeing from some of these other companies. Like, Magic Eden's buying up like things to add new products. They're trying to become more of an everything platform. So that's more my point, is like, I saw Yuga going that direction from being like the experts at what they do. And it feels like they are going to be more focused, but we lose that, incremental growth to be like so big and continue to grow out of the space. So that's kind of my point more than anything, is that bums me out. I know I'm just creating alternate reality fan fiction here because it didn't play out that way, but that is what bums me out about it, I guess is the way I would put it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Absolutely does. It's not just Yuga. I don't think any companies this early in what they're building should have side quests that are entirely unrelated to what they're building. It's just like, you have a tech company building an art division, like, make that make sense.
Because they do digital art, and they could have done art with it, and they could have continued to grow those communities. And you want to bring in those investors in networking, and they're running a networking club. And I understand what you're saying of how it played out in practice. It's just a bummer it didn't work out that way. And I get it. Punk, where it's like Punks are transcends PFP, Steve, the art, they're bigger than the Web3 space. I agree. And that's why I was excited for them to have it. Like Apple gobbles up companies that make sense for them, that they continue to expand, that are slightly adjacent to their business. Progressive was a car insurance business that does really high risk car insurance well. They acquired a home insurance company to sell home insurance because it's adjacent to their business, and they also sell it on the side, and it works for them. They brought in other products where they're like, hey, how can we give, pot companies better, insurance because people aren't insuring them? How do we give Uber insurance because nobody can insure them? They're uninsurable. Like, those adjacent things to their business, which I think Punks fall into. And I'm like, man, how cool would it be if Yuga just continues to be this like mega $100 billion company that grows and has these divisions and all things digital art utility related. They're there.
And all those other examples, all those acquisitions, they're profit centers. They acquired profit centers, or at least revenue generating divisions that they hope to turn into profit centers. I don't think there was ever a path towards this becoming a profit center. It was just always going to be an ongoing headache and expense. And it just, for an early startup company, that's dangerous. It's a distraction. It doesn't fit in. Like, maybe it's adjacent from I guess, yes, they're in the digital art arena, but for a very young startup, rapidly growing company, to have a side quest, like a non-profit side quest, that seems like that's where that's like, and I'll go back to you, Captain Dad Pants, and we'll get to the other hands, I promise. But like, that's where it's like, what could have been is my thing, where it's like, you have this massive network in Punks. And I'm not trying to like relitigate it. Look, Yuga has a million plate spinning, and your point is salient and true and fair. And so I'm not trying to like, this isn't like when we talk about this or Ethos or anything else today, it's not meant to be a critique of Yuga. It's meant to be like, I want to Punk more now that Yuga doesn't own them. So take that for what it's worth.
But I guess like my
I'm a big obviously big ape fan. It makes a lot more sense for me to not be under one umbrella.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. My point being, like, you talk about, and just giving you an example here. Again, I'm not saying I could do the job better. Garga's spinning a million plates. They're crushing it. I'm not saying that in a bad way. What I'm saying is, like, the Punks have a massive network. Bored Ape Yacht Club was selling the network. How could you have integrated those? What could you have done with those differently? Like, could you have made it not a side quest, but turned it into an opportunity to make it a profit center, make it work? Those things are the things that keep coming to mind for me. And I'm not necessarily putting it into words well as much as like, it's like,
I understand what you're saying. And I agree. That would have been great. I don't think the Punk holders would have ever let that happen. I don't think they wanted to network with us. Some of them, sure, but they already do. There's Punk holders. There's 500 and some of them that already hold an ape and a Punk. They're already networking with us. The other ones that don't want, like, they don't want that integration. It was just like they were been beating their head against the wall the entire time trying to make these networks merge, and they don't want to be part of Yuga. A lot of them, not speaking for all, but a lot of them don't. They want nothing to do with Yuga.
Yeah, and I get that. And like, I understand, like, point taken on that. It's just that's the part, whether it's wasn't feasible or not. That's why when I saw this news, my immediate reaction was like, shit, like, Yuga was gobbling things up and taking everything to be like, I wanted Yuga to like have this mission to be like the center of digital assets on chain that you build, that does utility-based PFPs, and people build them, work with them as a business. If there is a business who is trying to build utility-based PFPs, Yuga's the expert, and they could have an entire B2B section on there. Like their Amazon Web Services is, how do you do this properly? We will give you the playbook. Oh, by the way, we have punks and we have the art. So if you want digital art, you're coming through Yuga. We can create new digital art that we can sell in the galleries, sell to other folks. Like, I wanted all that, and it just didn't happen. And look, it's a fan fiction. Like I said, it's just, but that is where I saw them going and moving towards. And now it's like that dream is gone. So like now what they become, I'm excited as an ape holder. I'm excited for Other Side and Persistent Other Side in a couple of weeks here. I'm excited for everything they're doing, but that's the part that makes me sad. Captain Dad Pants, I know you've been waiting to get back in here a minute. Then, Jalazo was up here early, as well as Puff. So let's get through hands. Captain Dad Pants, feel free to respond if that even makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate throwing it back over to me real quick. I just want to say, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with like their finances or anything, but just from kind of my experiences in the space and what I've seen from other founders, or I guess builders, is we are a very entitled audience, and a lot of the stuff that gets pushed out doesn't meet our expectations, and usually it's because we didn't get enough in our pockets in free money. I think we push a lot of builders away. A lot of the stuff that we platform to the top of the space is not great tech. It's not great art. It's just wherever has the best marketing and the KOL support. So I kind of think maybe they wanted to narrow down their focus to their bread and butter and what they started, and they just thought that, like, we tried doing some cool innovative stuff with punks and it just was thrown back in our face. So why even try to do more when we could hand it off to another brand or company name and then still advise and just have things better received? Like if punks, or if Yuga had dropped this Nina Chanel drop, 2021, 2022, alongside Mutants and all these other stuff, would it been pushed back as much, or would everyone be like, "Oh, don't fade Yuga. It's free money. They're doing everything perfect again."
Yeah, no, it's fair. I actually agree with the full assertion you made there on everything. And yeah, man, it's just, yeah, I get it. And like, so I'm not like, again, like I'm not trying to like push back or be like, this was a bad decision, or it's just, I wanted it to work out differently. It didn't. I saw the what it seemed like they were going for at the time. Obviously, from a business perspective, it makes sense to pivot. It's just like, shit, I wish we ended up netting out there. And that's the bum part for me to see play out, where I'm like, there felt like there was maybe an opportunity that I totally, that we could have seen that we didn't get. Jalazo, go ahead and get in here, GM.
Been loving the conversation. My girlfriend was very disappointed this morning that I was not speaking to her and listening to you guys in bed instead. So had to get up and get part of this conversation to justify that. So I think what Captain's saying across the board, I generally agree with. I think, some of this does come from just general Yuga hate. I think the part of this conversation that we're not bringing up here is because very few NFTs do anything differently. But the concept of IP in general is really interesting, right? Like the 5 one-straight punk NFTs were probably worth $20 million total. And Yuga sold the entire concept of the punk IP, which there's nothing to do with, because punk owners don't want them to do anything with, for $20 million. It's a really interesting situation. And I compare that obviously to MFers, which are CCO. So there is no central IP that someone can buy and sell. And the community is actively doing all the building that we have. And so I just think it's a very interesting kind of dichotomy where MFers was created. I'm writing an article about this right now because I think it's such an interesting predicament that the punks and Yuga holders kind of find themselves in, where the entire MFer collection was created in honor of, inspiration of, and because of punks. However, done very differently. So a lot of the similar traits, the art style, just like punks was like, 8-bit digital, whatever, MFers is crudely drawn stick figures, similar inspiration, a lot of traits taken directly from punks. But fundamentally, the difference is there's no expectation that there is a centralized company doing anything with MFers. MFers was created to be what punks want it to be, in my opinion. And I think in the opinion of a lot of MFers out there, because they will never find the MFers will never find themselves in this issue of being bought and sold at a high level of who owns the IP, who can do what with it, because everyone owns it. We're all MFers. I think what punks stand for is different. It's this higher tier, this higher class, this status symbol thing. But people don't want there to be anything done with it. I see there to be no reason why a foundation, nonprofit, whatever it is, entity should own this IP and should say what is to be done with it, what is not to be done with it. Like, if you want to own individual NFTs, great, do stuff with those NFTs. But I think people don't want punks to be treated like apes. And I think that's fundamentally why there was so much frustration around Yuga purchasing the IP, because for the most part, I do think people were and still are generally feel positively towards Yuga. For me personally, that changed when they dropped the token, and people were paying more than an ETH in gas fees to claim their tokens. But again, I think what it all ties back to is the expectation that nothing is to be done with punks. These are sacred, and then people are buying and selling the IP that they have no say in. They see no positive upside in it. And again, people don't want there to be done anything with it. So if you're purchasing this for $20 million, there's an expectation that you will see some return on that, or that the people purchasing it will see some return on that. And so as a holder, regardless, when there's a transaction involved, maybe I'm happy that it was sold and out of Yuga's hands, but generally it's kind of antithetical to why I hold to punk that it even can be sold, that the IP can even be sold. So super interesting conversation. Love hearing what everyone's saying. That's just my 2 cents.
Without looking, chat, guess what the current floor price is for the Super Punk World by Nina Chanel. Don't look. Steve, do you have a guess?
Oh, I couldn't even begin to guess. I don't know what it was before, to be honest.
So I'll tell you the before price. Before the news, it was
there are people pumping them, by the way, after Yuga sold them, basically being like, "This is my opportunity." I'm like, it sounds like bag holders, but yeah.
0.3, 0.4 is what they were before the news. Guess what it is now? 1.75.
Yeah, makes sense. Like, there are people pumping them beforehand, and like, I mean, like, the one thing I'll push back on, I agree with like a lot of what Gelazo said there. I will say, like, I will push back on people who are like, oh, well, they don't want punks to be treated like apes. Well, I get it, but Toyota doesn't treat what people they're selling Lexuses to the same people they're selling Toyotas to. You know, it's like, you know, Hyundai doesn't treat Hyundai and Genesis people the same. You know, Volkswagen doesn't treat Bentley and Volkswagen people they're selling the same. Like, it is, you know, and you can go on and on and on and on, right? I mean, like, you know, Ralph Lauren versus their high labels. Like, there's so many different like brands that they could be treated differently under the same umbrella. And I don't know, I was kind of excited to see if they like brought in the best people to, like, again, like, point being, this space is not that big. There are going to be a couple of brands that escape. I mean, I mentioned Magic Eden earlier. They're doing all the chains. They're getting Slingshot. They're doing all the, like, they are strategically trying to think about how they could be all things related to those, you know, to that digital world. Lots of companies are doing this. As you see, imagine, you know, OpenSea has a token swap now, a token swap. Like, they have a token swap, right? Like, like, you could swap tokens on Open. Like, you couldn't do that before. Like, clearly these brands are moving in the direction of trying to be more, they're creating launch pads and other things. So, like, the idea of being a sort of more like one location for all things digital. And I thought Yuga was going to do that for IP, for, you know, metaverse, for art, and all these different things. And they're just going to be like the mega company. And it's not playing out that way, which is fine, because they should be a focused company that makes money and builds something really cool. And the opportunity with Other Side is massive. But that's the reason why it's not a knock on Yuga. It's a bummer it didn't play out that way, because that was what I was hoping to see when, you know, they had done all this. And when they dropped Other Side, like, I don't think anybody was like, you guys know business building a metaverse. They're a PFP brand. Like, it was adjacent. It made sense. It was something they were doing. Punks were adjacent. They made sense. It was something that was a, you know, leading a art / you know, networking division. And that's what it comes down to. Puff, I see you're out there. Go ahead and get in here, GM.
Yo, GM, it's actually 9 p.m. for me, but I'll be kind of quick. I'm not going to add too much, because you guys, I agree with most of what Captain was saying. Obviously, it's a bummer, so I agree with Steve as well. I think that was Steve that said that. I can't see who was talking at that time, but yeah, like, it's a bummer that they didn't, you know, take advantage of it. But at the end of the day, what happened, and we are where we are. I'm happy to see it go, and I'm not like too concerned because just the way like nonprofits work and the fact that Gordon is there, that's nice. You know, like that's something nice to have. Like, he still has a grip on it, and I won't go into that too much. But the thing that I thought that was interesting is if you look at like the price of USD for the punks from when they acquired them to when they sold them, it's damn near, it's like 25% difference. And then, you know, in NFT world, that's like nothing. So, you know, they're not that they, you know, acquired them from the floor price, but they have apparently over 400 punks right now. So again, I'm happy with the move of them selling it. And I think that obviously it is helping them because if they're going up in price over time, backing up the fact of what Captain was saying was like a lot of punk holders are not massive fans of Yuga. So I kind of think holding punks kind of actually even hurt Bored Ape Yacht Club. And going back to the point of, reinvesting the money instead of buying something else, put it back in the Bored Ape Yacht Club type, ecosystem. But 26% down in terms of floor price in USD. So that's not too bad. That's fine. And they're up from, in the past week, they're up. So again, I think everyone's winning right now. I think apes win. I think punks win. And it's good that they feel that they're not owned by Yuga, but it's also good that, in my opinion, that Gordon is a part of the council or whatever you want to call it, the board, I guess, for the nonprofit. So that's like, those are my two takes. But again, I agree with everyone's, opinion. It's like, it's a bummer it didn't go well, but we are where we are. And I think this is the best move to go forward.
Yeah, I think that's well stated. I think that's a pretty even keel sort of approach that I was in, kind of how I'm thinking about it as well. And like, I am happy Gordon's involved. I'm happy with all the people that aren't involved in that board. I think they crushed the advisory board. Like that was my takeaway. I saw that advisory board and I was like, it's a great advisory board. They did a great job with that. Can't do better than the founder, Snowfro and Gordon. Like, makes a lot of sense. And it's it's cool. It's still an aspirational thing for a lot of us, myself included. And I just hope that I hope that it, like, I'm really excited for, and I am, by the way, like, I don't want to like taper my excitement for what Yuga's building now when they're focused. Like, they're now down to the point of like, proof is, like I said a while ago, I said a while ago. Oh, sorry, I was getting an echo there. I said a while ago, is proof.
I don't know what changed. Your mic got really loud. It's not echoing on my end, but it just went from like, it changed. Something changed.
I didn't change the setting or move anything. I mean, I could change. Like, I'll just
hold on. It's fine. I can turn my thing down.
No, it's cool.
No,
it's fine.
Oh, I'm getting echo now.
Yeah, that's weird. Did you change anything on your end at all?
Nope.
All right, I can try to like.
I think it's because you're speaking in the Twitter space now, and you were just
my X unmuted. My X unmuted for some reason. I don't know why. I must have bumped it. I don't want this to like taper as if I'm not really excited about other side and then moving there. I don't want to taper. Like I said, when 10KTF got acquired, that Moonbirds might make sense next, or Proof might make sense next because they acquired Proof, got that treasury. Maybe as part of the terms of the deal, they can't, and I don't know where it would go. But like, is anything going on with Proof and Moonbirds? Like, I haven't seen anything, and I feel like they got, I think, a little bit defensive when people have asked the questions. Like I saw JK ask a question and Garga kind of dunked on him at one point, but it's like, yeah, focus on Ape, focus on the club. I'm excited for other side. I'm excited for persistent other side, and we'll see what comes out of that. And so like, I don't want to act like I'm not excited about that, and Ape Fest and everything they're doing the club. It's more so. Yeah, I don't know. More so just a bummer of a situation to me. But Gary, go ahead and get in here, GM.
Hey, GM, everybody. I know we don't know what the original purchase price was, but have any tax professionals, including ourselves, talked about the tax loss harvesting that Yuga may be, in the red for? Because if they did take a loss, that's a strategic loss where, the punks are in good hands. The punks have great owners. Garga's on the board. Good things are going to happen for punks. The value of the punks they're holding are going to go up. They're focused on the other side. They're focused on Bored Apes. But if there is a loss on paper, and other side is going to get released strategically the same year. I could see this being a massive financial benefit because of the tax loss harvest. They lost tax here, but they're about to take that advantage when they make the money on the other end. I think this is multiple reasons very, very good and very strategic, very smart for Yuga.
Yeah, I don't know what the original purchase price was. I was asking about that yesterday when it happened because I was a little bit surprised because I couldn't find it anywhere. And so I'm not sure what that was. Or a couple of people said they just acquired the punks. That was the purchase price. So I don't have a good answer to see what that is. So not sure what it was.
But even speculate, yeah. So without us knowing, if we were just to speculate and say, hey, let's say in the top of the market they paid a lot, and now we're in the bottom of the market, and the new owners got a deal relative to before. It's just speculating hypothetically. If there's a tax loss harvest of I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, then that strategically, theoretically, would be extremely bullish for Yuga if they're about to, release a major new product later this year.
Yeah, could be. I hadn't thought about it that way. And again, it's a good strategic move. And I haven't thought about the tax loss because we couldn't find the original sale price. I forget what the punks valued at. I looked them up at one point and had it. I'm trying to find because I responded to Tyler asking if he knew at one point about what it is. So I'm seeing if I can find. I'm kind of stalling to see if I can find my my reply to him. He tweets a decent amount with some news stuff, so I don't know if I'm going to find it. But that was my that was my thing that I was trying to figure out. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm I'll have to see if I can figure out what the original price was. If I can find what I had initially said there, I will give you it because I did have the initial guess on the price that I had kind of estimated earlier, but it was mostly based on the value of the punks they acquired at the time versus here, I'll see if I can find it. I think I found what I was looking for. Yeah, it was about $100 million in value in punks at the time of the acquisition. So whether they paid more or they just acquired the punks, I don't know. Whether that counts as tax loss harvest, I don't know. So I guess we shall see. Cap, that said, I mean, good conversation though. I'm glad thanks for coming up. We always love when people are coming up and giving some perspectives. And I think we had a good dive on that and got to a pretty good place as far as, sharing different perspectives. I think overall though, general agreement of, good sale, good play, GG, on the other side, more focus for Yuga is probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, agreed. Where do you want to head to from here? Do you want to hit on your abstract TGE? I don't know if there's more to discuss on that.
I'm going to hit more, by which is about Ethos. We can talk a little Ethos and maybe finish with abstract TGE after that, if that works.
Yeah.
The more you know, brought to you by ENS.
Time for the More You Know, brought to you by our friends over at ENS. And today we're going to talk a little Ethos. Ethos had a NFT drop yesterday, which had some mixed reviews to it. A lot of people in favor who got the drop. A lot of people who didn't, not so much. But we'll talk about that in a minute. In Web3, though, trust is everything, and Ethos is building a reputation layer to support it. Ethos, if you're not familiar, lets anyone build a credibility score based on community feedback, helping users understand who's trustworthy in this decentralized world. You can leave reviews, positive, negative, or neutral, based on real experiences. You can vouch for someone staking ETH, putting your own reputation behind theirs. And if someone acts unethically, the community can slash their credibility, adding an accountability layer that's often missing in crypto. Ethos already has a Chrome extension, so you can see anyone's credibility score directly on Twitter and other platforms. With billions lost to scams and rug pulls, Ethos is creating a simple, decentralized way to know who to trust without relying on centralized gatekeepers. In Web3, your reputation matters. And that was the More You Know, brought to you by ENS. ENS does more than not just anchor your name across the Web3, but anchoring it across the internet. It's your identity, simple, memorable, unmistakably yours. Security, interoperability, and ease of use. Go to ens.domains to secure your ENS domain today. So for people who missed it, Ethos launched 256 NFTs called validator NFTs to their top contributors. I think the art and the feel of them is very cool. Really actually enjoy the art and the way that they approached it. Very high effort and thoughtful. They talked about their leaderboard, kind of the different things people do to get them. Had some friends who were talking about them. Bread, some other people sharing some really cool ones they had. Here's what I ran into with them, though. I checked who got the NFTs. And by the way, I always try to preface this with this because people think if you're talking about something and have like a critique or feedback, it's FUD. This is not FUD. This is just feedback. I looked at who got dropped them, and I noticed there was a handful of people who are.
I'll FUD if you don't want to. I think it's fair, especially because of the platform and what it is.
Right. So
before you even go, I wanted to share, like, when I saw this, I didn't even check. I knew, because I haven't been contributing lately. I've been fading the platform after the nerf scores, that I wasn't going to be eligible. I assumed you and Dort and a few others would be eligible. And my first initial genuine reaction was excitement. Like, awesome, Steve just got a couple ETH airdrop. Cool. Asked in the Discord. When I heard you didn't and found some other people who weren't top 256 contributors did. Now, maybe to your point, it's fair. They were early investors or there's a reason behind it. I don't care. That's fine. Give them their thing. Be transparent about it. The platform, it's an opaque, transparent platform is what my takeaway was. Like, because it wasn't the top 256 contributors. If that was the case, I'd have zero issue with it. If it was, we're going to reward the top 240 contributors and 16 of our early seed investors, no issue with it. But when it's positioned as we're going to reward the top 256 contributors and it's not the top 256 contributors and the platform is called Ethos and it's about transparency and credibility and trust, I think that's FUD worthy.
So that's
where it's not a shot at those individuals who got ones that weren't in the top 256. Congrats, GG. And I'm sure there's a reason. Communicate the reason. Because what's being told isn't real.
This is
right. Did someone rank 255 not get one? That's pretty effed up.
Somebody actually I know ranked, I think, in the top 250 didn't get one for some reason, and they were like, didn't. But it sounds like it was an error because here's the thing: these people are on the leaderboard. So here's the part that's sneaky about it. Why I do have the critique here. So they gave it to their top 256. The people who got them are on the leaderboard in the top 256 because their CTO tried to come in. Because I was asking the question, people who know me know I'm not like somebody who generally is a fudder. I will ask the questions. I usually don't lose my cool or go, too angry on the timeline. And I was just simply asking, like, can you talk about how the scores credit added? I also asked, and I asked, like, did people know this was coming? I've noticed certain people kicking up activity lately, and I'm not sure why. And they said, nope, it was only us who knew about it. And yeah, it's top 256. It's clear here. But then they responded and said, yeah, there were some like early investors or early people to the platform who had a lot of invites who haven't been as active and contributing who got the drops. And I was like, okay. Because what I noticed was, because it's pretty simple, it's a blockchain. You look at like the activity and you can see everybody who got one on the holders because it's a very small number. It's very easy to look at 256 holders. Well, within that, I know it's a handful of people, I'm not going to name names, who weren't active at all. Barely vouched, didn't do reviews, weren't doing anything, definitely don't do the daily task if I had to guess. And those people appear to probably be early investors who were invited by Ethos themselves to the platform. As a result, they got a bunch of invites to invite people to the platform. They helped populate it. Okay. Those invites and who invited them, Ethos, raises their credibility score. And so therefore, they're seen as higher contributors to the platform. What threw me off is the idea of like, look, like if you wanted to say here, I'll kind of say the language that I workshop that bummed me out about it. Like if you wanted to make the comment of, we're including our earliest contributors who help promote and populate the platform, right? Who helped fund, promote, and populate the platform. That would have been fine. And I'm not salty. I didn't get one. I'm like 458 or something. It's fine. I don't use it every day. I've been lazy about it. I miss the daily task sometimes. It's fine. Like I'm not saying I needed one, but it is a bizarre thing to your point that your platform is about transparency. Your platform is about credibility. And you kind of played with the language without being like, look, this includes some of our earliest contributors and people, earliest contributors, investors, and people who have fund and populate the platform. Would have been an easy line to put in to be like, okay, that's fine. It's your airdrop. You can do with what you want. But to me, that's like that's a ding on a credibility platform.
Yes, agreed. Just communicate it. It's fine. Communicate it and it's fine. Because I just looked and there's some that haven't left a single review. I'm not saying I deserve one. I don't. I'm 858 on the leaderboard. If you gave the top 1,000, I'd want one. But at 256, I didn't qualify. I've been grinding. But if I was like 260 and I see these other people who haven't left a single review, I'd be pretty salty. I would stop using the platform.
I have somebody who is pretty high ranked in mine who said that they're unstaking everything today and calling it
Yeah.
a day because they're
Yep.
like,
So
it's
this
just-
is, and I like Serpent. I like the platform, but we're sharing real candid feedback because you lost me when you nerfed the scores. You lost others when you nerfed the scores. You're now losing people because you did another thing that's good thing. Like you're giving a massive airdrop to 256 people, but because of how you did it and how you communicated and what you didn't communicate, you're losing other people from your platform. And this is just like, this goes for everyone, but especially when your platform is built on transparency and trust, you got to be forthcoming with this stuff. I really feel pretty strongly about it because this is a fickle space. There's a lot of opportunities. And if I've been doing everything, I haven't been, but for those people who were staking and doing everything you asked of them to do, and they find out other people who weren't doing the things you asked them to do get rewarded and they don't, that creates issues. And I don't blame those people for unstaking and taking their ball and going home. I'd do the same thing if I were them.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I get thrown out because I think the art is cool. It's a cool thing, but it's like, why was it like? Because I'm gonna look at the exact like they basically said like, haha, it's a leaderboard. Technically true, but like the announcement says Ethos launched 111 days ago, 110K reviews, 15K vouchers, 6 million scores. Now we're starting to truly understand what reputation is and what it means on chains. We owe that to you, our earliest contributors. Today, Ethos preseason ends. We sent 256 Ethos validator NFTs to the top contributors. Again, they could define contributors any way they want, but it definitely seems like, they said that where the collection can be found, and they said, daily tasks, vouching, reviewing will still all be rewarded, but more optimized towards people who are organically driving value to the protocol and helping everyone understand where trust lies. This will launch with season 1. Season 1 will be a fixed amount of contributor XP and start soon. In the meantime, hold your validators close. But yeah, like I was kind of asking how they're, and I asked basically any insight on how you calculated the contributors. Is Ethos airdrop to, it's Ethos airdrop to govern, but a handful of people on the receiving list aren't active on Ethos. Truly no hate or shade, but we'll love to know the methodology given to the site. And initially they responded and said, top 256 competitors. Here, I'll just share it while I'm doing this. Initially they said, top 256 competitors, I'll zoom in, give or take a few from accounts I removed that had a ton of EXP and no activity. I know it sucks. I hate that people wanted them and didn't get them. I knew no matter no matter what, some people would be disappointed, even if they were solid contributors. I said, I'm not upset. I'm a mediocre contributor. I'm just wondering why some of the airdrops went to big names, some invited by Ethos to the platform who don't really use it. They responded in parentheses. Some
CTO here. What did they say?
I'll say it in a second, but the Ethos responded. Some accounts got a lot of invites but never contributed since we did some collabs with people. They got a bunch of invites but didn't write reviews or anything. So, like again, maybe investors, I don't know. Ethos CTO here. Nobody knew it was coming because I said I also said. Also worth asking if anyone knew it was coming. Ethos can do it. However, I just be prepared to answer for this. People are upset. I imagine there's a lot of contributors far above my participation who will be. Just Ethos CTO here. Nobody knew it was coming outside of Ethos staff. I like to think activity picked up because we had some interesting slashes and we've shipped some translations, Hong Kong, yada, yada, yada. I said, yeah, product, big fan, not accusing it of anything. He said, there's always farming pressure in Web3. Every profile is XP. Has an XP explainer of how much we count. So basically they're trying to land you like everybody knows the rules. Hopefully, very this makes it easy to harm, but hopefully very fair. Our leaderboard shows everyone's relative position. Like I said, I'm 458. And I said, to be clear, I didn't expect anything. And I kind of asked a question I didn't get answered to. So the people who use the platform frequently get their boost from early invites. Because again, you can go to the leaderboard and you can see the leaderboard clearly. That's fine. It's just where I'm struggling, like I said. Oh, I'm freezing up, man. My computer, I might need to restart my computer or my Chrome maybe. Okay. It might be they're fucking around with the internet upstairs or something like that. But it's like, I don't know, it's like how many of these people, and I don't even see, I got to look at the top ones to see if I can get to, maybe 100 a page and see where some of these people are. But some of these people I know, I check their profiles and they're not doing anything. So I'm confused, and I guess the answer is just that it's okay, you're basically, they got early invest. But again, to your point about it,
I mean, I guess if it was the top 256 on the leaderboard, then whatever, that's fine. I guess it's just.
But I don't even see Dingaling got one. I don't see Dingaling on the top 56.
And that was my impression as well, is that there was people who weren't in the top 256 that actually got the NFT, and that's what I took issue with.
Yeah, so I'm actually not seeing, as I look through this, I am not seeing
And again,
Dingling listed
make
or Hunter
300 of
Arel.
them and give, like, I don't care. Like, give 300, give it to your top 256 and 10 honoraries. Like, do it. It's your thing. You can do whatever you want. I just think we just keep stubbing our toes with the lack of clear, concise communication in this space.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, like a couple of the ones I noticed, and again, this is no shade on these individuals, but I'll name the names because they might have been early investors. Hunter Arel and Dingling both received them. I just looked at the leaderboard and I don't see them.
Yeah, and again, fine, cool. They should get NFTs. Just communicate that in the first announcement.
Yeah,
like, why hide it? Why? That's why I don't understand. Like, why not communicate that? Because you, like, to your point, it's on chain. People are going to see it. Like,
yeah, it's a bearish. I think it's a bearish sentiment in that sense. Like, so I don't know. Maybe I actually might stop using. Like, I wasn't going to, but now that I'm seeing that, like, at least my thought was like, okay, like I see like Dingling and Hunter and them, and they're like top 256 contributors on the leaderboard, maybe because they got like invites and they help populate the platform, and that's valuable. They added their credible people and people to promote it like they should. I just looked at that leaderboard. I don't see, unless I'm missing something. I don't see them on the leaderboard, which would mean that that part was not true by the CTO. So I'm not sure actually. Now I need to look. Now I need to do more digging into that, Cap. I'll hand it to you while I do more digging.
So today, if you're taking notes, Steve is drafting a Ethos FUD post today, and I'm drafting a Punks FUD post today.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how this goes, because it's like I'm trying to
and here's where, like, I think probably part of my frustration is my heart tells me just fade the platform. I'm not interested. I don't like, I did my thing. It's fine. I like it. My heart says fade the daily activity. My brain says, don't do that, you idiot. There's going to be another one of those things. You're going to be leaving free money on the table. I do think there's an outcome where Ethos and Kaido continue to do not just what they've been doing, but more of it. And I could see other third parties leveraging Kaido and Ethos to come up with their calculations as well. And like, I could stop using it now, and in 2 months, I'm ranked 1,500 on the leaderboard, and some third party comes out and they do some 10-figure or some 5-figure airdrop for everyone who's in the top 1,000 on Ethos. Like, that could happen. And so, like, I don't want to fade something that I think is in the attention of the space at large. And so it's like, this is where I'm struggle reconciling how I move forward with the platform.
But it's also hard because what they also did with this drop, whether they realize it or not, is they created a series of haves and have-nots within the
exactly.
ecosystem.
So now because I don't hold the NFT, because that could be something every other future airdrop, you're only getting it if you have one of these 256 NFTs. And because I'm salty of how it was rolled out, I'm not going to go buy one. And I'm not salty because I didn't get one. I'm salty because you didn't get one.
Well, the thing is, I'm not salty because I didn't get one. I was not being active. I was not being active enough. I was not reviewing enough people. I was not getting out there. I even had an open Chrome window with like 10 people I was going to review on it that I finally got to the other day. But, you know, it's when you create that level, like how they decided on 256 is interesting. But when you create that level of, and I have an invite I haven't given out, by the way. So if anybody wants to get on Ethos, you're welcome to, after the glowing review this morning. But like, maybe I should probably leave a review for Ethos on the Ethos platform. Probably I should probably just go leave a negative review and just be like, hey, like, or neutral at the very least, because I think the art's cool. I like the platform concept. How they distributed the NFTs was, I just think it was such an easy opportunity, like, to be like, hey, and like make it really clear. But like, when you're opaque about how you distribute something intentionally, so seemingly, and you're a credibility platform, like, that's bad, man. So I don't know. Like, I'm not fudding them. I think it's a cool platform. I think it has an opportunity in the future. I just think, like, I don't understand how you handle that one. I don't know. So anyway, we can move on from that. I think in a very similar fashion, though, kind of what you're saying, you know, I'll kind of pin to the top. There was a Luca interview. Well, two things. One, there was a Luca interview about TGE. So I'll pin that to the top. And then I'll pin to the top sort of a thought I had. So I feel like at Abstract, I'm at this crossroads. I think Abstract's done incredibly well. And not a bad way. Like I'm going to continue to do stuff no matter what. But similar to what you just said about Ethos, do I want to keep using the platform if I'm now completely nerfed and behind the game? Right? I'm behind the 8 ball. I don't have one of the validators, which is fine. I didn't earn one. But people who did earn one are probably going to be incredibly well rewarded, who did, weren't, and people who just got one for being investors are going to be well rewarded. Do I want to continue to be this guy on Ethos? Abstract, I was considering if I should sell my Abstract NFTs, because I've mentioned before on this, on this platform of Abstract, the best way to get points, I've done a bunch of experimenting, is just holding NFTs. Yes, you want to use the dApps, but if you're just holding some NFTs, you'll get little boosts every week. I had like 22,000 last week. Outside of a blip of 15,000 last week, I've been pretty consistent at 20,000. I've raised activity, I've lowered activity. The only consistent variable is the NFTs I hold. So holding NFTs is an advantage on the Abstract ecosystem. But I'm not a top contributor, because people holding things like Big Pudgies and people who are getting the Giga Chad role, which is relatively subjective, they're just running laps around me. So I'm probably going to get this smaller Abstract TGE when it ultimately happens in Q4, which, by the way, smart move by Luca, putting it in Q4, giving them a whole year of promotion and putting it out there, because people are promoting it to get those XP opportunities.
I agree with you, though. I think it's very important they hold some back.
Yeah, so 2 things about it that I said about TGE. Thing number 1 is I'm leaving money on the table not having a Big Pudgy. Like, a Big Pudgy gives you a 50% boost, and I can't afford a Big Pudgy. I don't have that sort of money. I can't do it. Kind of want to, though, because I'm sitting here looking at the Big Pudgy thinking, all right, 50% boost in Abstract every single week is, if they're doing this thing for another, I don't know, how many weeks, till let's call it November for the heck of it. How many weeks? So there are 24 weeks till November. So that means, in theory, let's say that I continue to get, 20,000 EXP a week. Not holding a Big Pudgy cost me 250,000 nearly 250,000 XP going towards their airdrop. It's a big deal. Like, that seems like a big deal for simply holding an asset, which is probably a relatively unvolatile asset for crypto. So I guess my thing is, like, should I be holding a Big Pudgy for this, or do I sell my asset? Similar to we talk about Ethos. Do I just unstake and call it a day on the platform because whatever, the airdrop's going to be the airdrop. It's probably going to be small. I'm probably not going to get a lot there, and I'm not one of the big contributors. So, like, I'm at this crossroads where it's like, should I be doing everything I need to do to get a Big Pudgy because it actually is going to affect an airdrop in 24, 25 weeks? Or do I, so I guess, like, that part comes to mind for me as well. And then thing number 2 was, to your point, if I'm Abstract, even after TGE, I hope they hold back a decent amount of Abstract token to continue to reward people to use the dApps, because they have such a momentum going, and I would hate to see Abstract screech to a halt in Q4 because people who are farming leave, whereas, like, you continue to see the dApps grow as they continue to onboard people. Yeah, like, and NFT Intoxicated says, buying a Big Pudgy will not only affect your points, but Pudgies in general will get a large allocation separate from points. So yeah, I mean, like, a Big Pudgy may be a play here, man, where it's like, it's going to boost my XP every week. It's going to get me an allocation Abstract, or I'm going to be able to sell it into TGE. I don't know, man. Like, I'm like, the flip side of the Ethos thing is Abstract is, like, obviously getting people to use the platform, and they're not clear about, like, where the XP comes from to try to get people to organically use it. But they're very clear about those XP boosters, and having a Big Pudgy might help me out quite a bit here. So, I don't know. Any thoughts on that, the timing or anything like that?
I mean, I think the third option would be you could continue to do what you're doing. I think that you could still get handsomely rewarded for the points you are accruing, even if you don't hold a Big Pudgy. I understand your dilemma, but I also think that, like, you're like, I don't know, like tripling me in points every week just for the NFTs you hold. So just understand, like, yeah, if you liquidate all those, you're likely end up at like 5,000-6,000 XP a week. So it's like, I should hit gold this week, assuming you're already well there. Thank you very much for the tip, Be Epic. I mean, so part of it's like, yeah, you could make some moves. You could add a Big Pudgy. You could really go after Abstract TGE. I think the downside risk in that is if it doesn't perform, now you're now you've invested in going after that TG. Now it's not just a farm and activity. Now you're putting serious capital towards it. Whereas if you can just continue to do what you're doing, I don't think you have really any downside. Like, it's just going to be a win. It may not be as big of a win, and I think that's the unknown here, is how well does the abstract TG hit? And I don't know. Like, I'm impressed pleasantly with the rebound that Pingu has had. I'm not sure if I'm not really bullish on the abstract token. I don't know what it's going to be used for. I'm not.
Luke was giving some massive numbers. He was talking about like 10 billion, all these big like valuation numbers.
Like, this isn't fun. I'm curious. Like, what is it? What is the abstract token going to be used for? Is it going to be a governance token? Is it going to go into, like, is there going to be like a grant style? It's not going to be used as gas. It's not like they already have a meme coin. What is, I just don't understand what it's going to do. And having seen Dude just launch without details on what it's going to do, even though we know there's something coming that it's going to be used for, and seeing it perform, I think a $10 billion valuation on a token that's today has no utility. I struggle to see that vision. Not saying it can't happen. I'm not betting against Luca. I just don't. I'm very bearish on the abstract tokens. Hence why my farm has been. I'm not putting. I shouldn't say about putting anything in. Very little. I'm not investing. I'm not reaching to move over out big allocations to farm this chain. I'm going to participate. I'm going to use the chain like they want us to do, and if I get rewarded, great. If the token cooks, great. But I'm not going to find myself in a spot like, oh my god, I wish I wouldn't have put that 20K into a Big Pudgy, and it ended up, the airdrop is worth 4K. Like, I guess
like the thinking on the Big Pudgy is almost like, if I have it now for the next, let's say I have it now for the next, let's call it, 4 months, right? Is it going to be at, above? Obviously, it's impossible to know, but like, is the risk of holding the Big Pudgy, the upside of holding it, it could be higher in price, it could be lower in price, could be the same price, right? But like, is the volatility on the Big Pudgy going to be relatively stable over the next 4 or 5 months, assuming things keep going well and the market keeps going up? And then I could sell it pre-airdrop and not worry about the allocation, or I could hold it. I could make the decision at the time. But in the meantime, I'm holding an asset that generates me an extra 10 to 20,000 points a week.
Sounds like 3,000.
What?
In the chat, someone said you get 3,000 a week for holding a Big Pudgy.
The Big Pudgy, so the Big Pudgy, the boost.
NFT Intoxicated said I've got a Big Pudgy and I rake in 3,000 points per week.
But mine would be higher because it's not based on points. They're very clear about it. So like the Big Pudgy is here. Let me show you what he's saying. He's not doing much on abstract at all. The Big Pudgy gives you a boost of 50% on your score, meaning I'm already getting 7.5 and 12%. So I'm already getting 20% boost on my score every week. If I hold a Big Pudgy, that becomes 70%, meaning I now get, like, if I was getting
more stuff, I got you.
20,000, 22,000, like I was 22,000 this week, I would have been 33,000. So as I understand it, and that's without getting sort of these other roles here. So obviously, like Giga Chad and these other ones are big. And if the Intoxicated said he was an anti-brag because they doesn't use the chain. My point being, if I'm raking in an extra 250,000 XP points over the next from now until November, and let's say beginning of December is the airdrop, you're talking about me getting an extra 250, 300,000 XP points for holding my Big Pudgy. That feels like a big boost in my ecosystem activity, considering, like, right now, my total XP from this entire like farming, whatever, is 100,000 right now. It's about 100,000, 180. The thought that I would have a bonus.
How are you only at 100,000?
I don't understand what the.
I mean, so I'm an elite Chad. I got the 12.5% bonus. I am a Pingu holder of the 88,000, and that shows, but I don't see any bonus for that. I have 90,000 points, and you've been breaking in far more than me every week.
You have 90,000 in this number right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense then. You're right. I don't get it.
I'm actually floored because I would have guessed, like, you did 23,000 last week. I got 6, and yet you only have, like, you got more last week than me. I got 6,690, and I still have 90,000 points. Something's off here.
You have 90,000 in silver. I have 100,000 in gold. Meaning I have everything you needed to reach.
It resets at gold. So you actually have,
which
like,
I did not know either until just now.
okay. So you actually have 200,000 points. That makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Okay.
So that would, yeah, there
Sorry.
you go.
Sorry, chat. My bad.
No, I didn't know either. I appreciate the correction in the chat because I actually didn't know that. I thought it was accumulating and they just did it. So I have 100,000 points. So I basically have 200,000 points total in this entire time. What I'm talking about, if I have a Big Pudgy, is getting an extra 250,000 between now and November just by existing. That feels like a proposition where it's like, if the Pudgy value stays the same, let alone goes up, I can sell it. Exactly. Like B-Epics, like you'd have so much more if you had a big. Every single one of these weeks I'm showing, imagine those points increase by half.
Yep.
Like, so I'm just debating if like, I don't know how I do it. Do I sell my ape, buy a mutant and a Pudgy? Do I, you know what I mean? Like, what does that look like? Because I forget what the Pudgy floor is right now, but I think that's like a doable like trade, for example, or like, maybe with a little bit of extra stuff.
So this is actually interesting. I pinned up a poll up top. It's the second one in from the left. I had this thought yesterday, and my wording was poor, so I apologize. A couple of people checked me on it. Like, I should have worded it better. I didn't really put some thought to it. I had the thought and I fired it off, and I should have thought how I was saying it better. Well, shit. No, it's not. I'm just going to share blind here. Sorry. Anyways, the poll up top, I say Ape Chain has become deeply integrated with Bored Ape Yacht Club. Abstract is building more of an independent chain from the Pudgy NFT community. Many Pingu's active and involved, but it's mostly separate. TBD on Anime Chain and DreamNet, I assume that they'll be closer to Bored Ape Yacht Club / Ape Chain type relationship. And my question is, which is the best for NFT brands? This idea of, for NFT brands that are launching, whether it's a chain or a protocol, for all intents and purposes, it's another community. Is it best to deeply integrate those two communities or keep them separate? And what's interesting here is I feel like we're on Abstract 5 days a week. I do not feel like I'm in the Pudgy community at all. It's not a shot at them. I don't feel like, I feel it's very two distinctly different communities. You've got the Abstract community and you got the Pudgy Penguin community. I would say I'm part of the Abstract community. I'm not part of the Pudgy Penguin community. Conversely, we went to NFT Paris where, the ape booth there was an ape booth that was spearheaded by a Bored Ape Yacht Club member who got a grant from the Ape Chain DAO. And that booth was buzzing the entire week. It was like filled with people, and not just the booth. Every event, there was a lot of people. I'm going to guess less than half of those people we interacted with there held apes. In fact, I feel most of them were newer entrants to the community by way of Ape Chain. So from my perspective on Ape Chain, it's the Ape Chain community and the Bored Ape Yacht Club / Mutant Ape Yacht Club communities are deeply integrated in the sense that there's a lot of crossover. I'm not saying there's not crossover with Pudgy and Abstract, but from a communication standpoint, from a support standpoint, from an event standpoint, am I right in my perception that Abstract and Pudgy, two very different communities? Is that an accurate statement?
Feels like it is. So actually, it's funny you say this because I Tab's not teeing this up. I had a tweet this morning about the Big Pudgy thing. I'll pin to the top where I made the point of like, I ended it with, I'll make this comment and you'll tell me if you agree with this one. Because I agree. I said, I also love their smart cross-product marketing with a subtle push for Igloo products. I increasingly want a Pudgy Penguin for that 50% XP boost. I think that's what it is. I know they're connected. I know they're in the same thing, but they're not the same. You know what I mean?
And not only they're not the same, it's interesting that they're not the same. They're adjacent, they're connected. And what we were just discussing here this morning, while they're two separate communities, you actually have an incentive to go get a Big Pudgy to participate on Ape Chain more. Unless I'm missing it, there's really no direct incentive to go buy an ape or a mutant to participate on Ape Chain and get more rewards. Now, yes, I did get a Mintator that I was able to mint that because I hold an ape. So a couple $100 free dividend there. Thank you very much, James. Officially, though, and I fully understand too, I'm comparing apples and oranges here. One's pre-TGE, one's post-TGE. But my point being is that in the Pudgy / abstract ecosystems, you very clear and direct benefits you get for holding a Pudgy to participate in that ecosystem. And yet the communities are, to me, the feeling is they're very separate, very two different communities. I know people that are holding Pingo and Active are buying little Pudgies. I get all that. And maybe they eventually come together. I'm still not landing the plan. I'm not communicating it well because I know you experienced what we experienced in Paris, right? And I've seen it on these ape chain spaces. Like, to me, the ape community has grown significantly as a result of ape chain NFT communities. I don't think the same for Pudgy and little Pudgy. It's just different. I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. I'm actually genuinely asking the question, and it's more like a real curious, like genuine curiosity for me. Which is better? I don't know the answer. I truly think there's pros and cons of doing it both ways, and I think that both are kind of forming a playbook right now for others that are going to follow them in the future.
Well, this is what's interesting because they're two separate models. So Cap's point here, I understand exactly what you're saying, is that on one hand, Ape Chain and Bored Ape Yacht Club and Yuga are intrinsically intertwined. Anytime you go like to like they have these like party at the clubhouse spaces that Baron runs.
Yeah, the clubhouse space. It's a Bored Ape Yacht Club space every Friday. It's an awesome show. I really enjoy it. Probably half that space is Ape Chain focused.
Probably more than half now.
And
like when I go there,
I don't think Pudgy's holding. Like, I don't think when they did maybe I'm wrong. I'm not in the huddles, but I don't think they're spending half the time talking about abstract. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't. It seems like like you said, two very different models, and no one's talking about this. This is the other thing that's kind of curious for me. I haven't seen anyone else. I haven't seen threads on this. I haven't seen anyone like. I'm not saying one's right, one's wrong. It's very interesting to me that while they seem to be doing two similar things. Oh, it's an NFT community that their parent company launched a blockchain, but the reality is how they're going about it maybe could not be more different.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is like you have one instance where Ape Chain and Yuga and Apes are completely, in fact, to the point where, Cam was, the chief business officer at Yuga. Now he's the CEO over at the Ape Chain Foundation. Like, they actually have team members. One was, leading partnerships over at Yuga. Now he's working on the Ape Chain team and trying to help them continue to move that out. So you see movement in employees, right, who are under that salary. You see the interconnections with Yuga and Yuga products, and you see their team building on there and doing all sorts of things. And then on the Pudgy side, it's like, I think of Finn as abstract. I don't think of Finn as Pudgy, right?
Same. Yeah. Yeah. And was he on the Pudgy team previously? I don't know. I don't know the question. To your point, there's been a lot of employees that have moved from Yuga Club to Ape Chain. I don't know was Finn employed previously?
No, I can't recall who he was working for before. He's working for a different notable company and then moved over there, and it was like a big deal for him. I remember his announcement post. It was pretty cool. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess, like, on one hand, so again, to Cap's point, you go to an a Bored Ape space, it's Ape Chain is going to be discussed. When you go to Ape Fest, I imagine there's going to be some Ape Chain stuff, right?
Certainly. I mean, there was last year. There was the announcement of it there last year. So it's like, and like, this isn't just happenstance. Like, I believe this is very much with intent from both sides.
Yeah, it's strategic. And then on abstract on the other side, they have the Pudgy ecosystem, which is doing IP and like inner igloos and things like, and there is crossover. There's crossover, but it's not the same. So what's your preference, I guess? What's the way you approach it?
I don't know. I really don't know. I see pros and cons of both. And like, while I see the value in growing a community, how Bored Ape Yacht Club is with, like, the community seems a lot bigger. It's a lot more vibrant. I mean, think about the number of spaces that are being hosted now where they're talking about ape and Ape Chain related stuff. It's probably 10x what it was prior to Ape Chain. That's a good thing. Some of the maybe the pushback or the challenge would be, is it dilutive? Is it dilutive to ape and mutant holders? Someone asked, like, in that same thread, I think someone asked, like, why should I buy an ape now? Why would I hold an ape? And this is, again, I'm not selling my ape. I don't know how to best answer that question today. The art's better than the mutants. So if you're going to build with your IP, I guess, like there's one answer. Like my real answer though is like you don't even need a mutant. Like go buy one ape coin and go get active. Like if you're on a budget, that's the best way to get active in a vibrant community is go buy one ape and just get active. Start showing up, start participating, start adding value, and you'll be part of the community, whether you hold an ape or not. I'm not going to look down on you if you don't hold an ape or a mutant. I don't think you'd have that same access if you just start streaming on Abstract. Like I don't think you're gonna, this way to go, Chris. You're an honorary Pudgy today. I don't think Pudgies are like gonna start, Chris is a new member of the Pudgy Penguin community. It's so, but yet again, I don't know. I'm really kind of in a pretzel. I'm thinking through this in real time. Do you feel it's dilutive? Do you feel like the growth of the ape community has been diluted to you as an ape holder?
No, but I know there are people who do.
Some people have sold their apes as a result of this.
I have seen that, and I've seen some people say it's a frustrating. I've seen people talk about why it's frustrating, which I get.
What's the reasoning you've heard?
So I've seen a few people basically be like, look, like I joined the club because I want the club, and now I go into space and everyone's yelling with different PFPs and arguing about like ape chain nuances, and I can't even go to a Bored Ape space without talking ape chain, and I just want to talk apes and be part of the club and vibe out with the community, and it's like ape chain drama or what's dropping here, or let's talk about the newest PFP that dropped on ape chain, and like they're like, I joined the club to be part of the club, and now there's all these things, and to your point about it being dilutive, I think that's a lot of the feeling of it. I think that is, but on the flip side, we got Cool Check saying, not one person has mentioned I don't have mutant or ape. They have welcome you every step. I love ape chain. So to your point, the upside of that is that the Yuga community grows.
And this is what I say. There's personal. I think if it is dilutive, maybe some feel like that. But the flip side is you have a Cool Check, and you're not getting that experience with Abstract, right? Like this is a very that is very different. Like Cool Check, yeah, you're part of the community. Awesome, welcome. I don't think you would. I feel like I'm semi-active on Abstract. I don't feel like part of that Pudgy community at all. Like it's two very different things, and I really don't know which one's better. And maybe they're both. And I do believe both can win. Both can be right. It's just I think it's a really interesting dynamic that very few people are referencing or talking about.
Yeah, it's two very different approaches.
Or if they are, it's in back channels.
Yeah, it's definitely yeah, man, it's a whole different it's definitely like a whole different world, and it's definitely a different approach. Yeah, I don't know. I think both are good, but I do think of them as I don't know. I think of them as I don't know. I see advantages and disadvantages of both. I don't know if we know a clear answer on it, but I do think I do think ape chain, the worry is being completely conflated where ape chain and Bored Ape Yacht Club are inseparable. And then to your point, like they could do bonuses for holding apes and mutants for competitions and things on ape chain, right? Or certain things they do. And that would make it more like this model versus this. I just feel like, to your point, like I don't think about owning a Pudgy at all when I'm roach racing. I don't think about it when I'm playing, all the different games and things on there. Do you think it's partially because ape chain is so PFP heavy?
Maybe. I think you maybe unlock something else for me too, though, is it doesn't have, I get their post TGE. So it's not like, you need to go, you're going to go get a big new bag of ape that you already got. So very different there. We're reiterating, we're comparing apples and oranges in terms of where the chains are at with their native tokens. It's not just spaces though, right? It's like, I think it's part of what, there's this, I'm sure going to be an incredible time in Monaco. Actually this weekend, I'm probably going to go to Miami on Sunday for an ape event. I don't need an ape to go to either one of those. In fact, I can't go to the Monaco event with just my ape. I need 20,000 ape coin. So it's like, I think part of the, maybe I'm speaking for others here, reading between some lines. I think maybe part of those frustrations are people who hold the OG asset are, am I going to get more utility if I just sell this thing and go buy 20,000 ape? I'm not saying that. I get value out of my ape. I've gotten tremendous value out of my ape. But I understand that where people are coming from, and probably this is even because I've seen a lot of these conversations. I've seen a lot of comments, and it's not like people aren't upset per se. It's more of that the question, like, why should I hold an ape over a mutant? Why should I hold a mutant over 20,000 ape coin? I don't really know the best answer. I could guess, but I think a lot of this comes back to what we've been talking about most of the morning in terms of communications, clarity. I get excitement and surprise and delight. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm getting old, Steve. I just kind of would like to know what am I doing this for? What's coming? Like, I understand a vision, but I don't think we have to be as secretive about what's next, especially if it's not a competitive thing. Like, oh, I don't want to share this. I'm afraid of getting front run. Like, this isn't taking a shot at Doodles, but Lord of the Files is pretty cool. You're in the Doodles community. You didn't even know anything about it. I can't fathom why they didn't talk about this leading up to TGE. Like, it was a day one, or maybe it wasn't day one. It was very weekend one sync that's actually not low effort. And yet I bet there's a lot of people that claim they're dude and still have no idea this thing even exists. Why? Like, what are we? I'm not better than these teams. I'm not. I just at my wit's end for what feels to me very JV, junior varsity communications in crypto and Web3 at large. Maybe someone's with intent. I just think I would challenge all of you to go back to the drawing board. Question is the way, how, and the cadence you're communicating things. It might have made sense in 2021. Does it still make sense today? Maybe it does, and keep doing your thing. I just would encourage all of you to at least question yourselves. Are you communicating things the best way? Do you need to add someone on the team that helps with communications and PR? Because I don't think it's something that we should be talking about. It feels like on a weekly basis where someone just kind of dropped the ball on an activation, or, I don't know, man. Am I getting old man yawn at the clouds here? Tell me if I am, and I'll stop my.
No, I mean, like,
I'm just like, I love this space, and some of this is like, it doesn't seem that hard, and I don't understand why this veil of secrecy all the time. Still, it just doesn't like. Just like we were talking about, but the punk market was very different in terms of Yuga buying the punks back in 2021 or 2022 than it is today. So is announcements and communications and vague announcements of announcements of announcements. Like, who's asking for that? Who wants that? Because I don't. I think most people I talk to, they just want to know what's happening. Oh, the apes are building a clubhouse. Awesome. Is 2025? We might get an update on that. Is it going to be 2030? Like, tell me it's 2030. I don't care. But I'd like to know, what is the abstract token going to be used for? I think it's going to be used for something. Maybe there is something secret that no one's used a token before. They don't want to get front run on that, but I'm guessing there's going to be some things that you're going to be able to do with it that's been done before. What is the dude token going to be used for? Oh, DreamNet. Cool. I don't know what DreamNet is. Well, guess what? You're going to have to wait. Day one, there's going to be this Lord of the Files that we put a lot of time, effort, and energy to. Think of it like Severance meets Squid Game on chain. Why you got my interest? I'm going to not sell all my dude because I want to participate. I want to see what it is. Is this hard? What I just described? Is any of there like expensive or overly difficult, or am I just being a prick?
It's both hard and doable at the same time. So, like, being a communications professional, you're not saying this, but like being a communications professional, properly communicating isn't easy. You have biffs that don't go well. You have things that do go well. You have to be very conscious and have your ear to the street on things. But like using the Ethos example, like, I literally put one line together off the top of my head this morning about like, we also, rewarded, some of our earliest supporters who helped fund and grow the platform. Their contribution is like, been invaluable. And so they've been rewarded as well. That one line of communications changes everything we talked about this morning. With the dude stuff, it's like launching the syncs and how they did that. Like, there are things from a communications perspective that there are opportunities to do so. And your point about like, why own an ape versus a mutant? Like, if you want to own an ape, you want to own an ape because you want the provenance, you want the old school ape, you want a lot of things for a lot of reasons to own the ape. But like, if you were telling someone utility wise, why own an ape over a mutant? If we get to the point where here's where it gets dangerous. The thing that you were saying, Cap, is like, I've said it a bunch of times. We went to a Royal Society of Players party where if you owned one card, one gutter cat, one clone, you got in. They hadn't had other utility, and someone's like, so I own a $12,000 gutter cat, and I'm getting in for someone who owns a $70 clone, like same access, same everything so far in the club. What you don't want to be, if you're in the situation where they're all put together, is to your point, like, if someone's like, hey, I could sell my ape and just buy a bunch of, buy the minimum amount of ape coin to get into things, why am I owning an ape? I could take the profit. Why am I owning it? And again, it's not all about money, but it's about utility, and it's about what holding the asset is for. And I think that's changed a lot over the years. And I think for a lot of people, they're like, okay, so if you're holding it for airdrops, those have gone. So then what is the reason now that you hold it, right? And again, I get value out of my ape, so do you. We're not bashing Yuga and saying it, but your point being like, what is it getting me? Is a real question when you see, to your point, like you couldn't go to the party in Monaco because you don't have enough ape coin, or if you, or your ape wouldn't get you into it, at least for that matter. So yeah, like I do see some potential issues we run into there. And I think
I say there's pros. The positives, like I see Zombie Rob started on Ape Chain. Now I want a mutant, where before I never had considered it. Same thing with KZ. Like that is working. There's a lot of people, and some have already done this. They've started on Ape Chain and they've flipped their way up, and they've got a mutant now, and like that, it's working as an onboarding mechanism. So I'm not saying it's bad how they're doing it. It's just I really don't know what I'm saying now anymore.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's definitely a yeah, I don't know, man. We'll have to see. We'll have to like, see how it plays out, because they're two separate models. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I mean, and a whole nother conversation, probably not for today. We're at 10:06, gotta shut down here in a minute. But like, is the 5 days for Miami and 2 weeks for Monaco thing, that wasn't great. I want to attend as much of these things as possible, and right now I can't. But I don't know. Like, that's a whole nother conversation. Any other thoughts before? Yeah, Monaco sheesh big, says rock paper hands. Rock paper hands. Basically, what happened was they announced a event in Monaco where you can, if you're holding, I think it was like 10 or 20,000 ape coin or whatever, they have a yacht party they're putting in Monaco F1 weekend in 2 weeks. So if you're able to make it in 2 weeks to France to do that, that's awesome. And similarly, they announced a Miami party for some ape chain stuff this Friday. They announced it, I think, yesterday. So there's a lot going on there, and it's cool they're doing it, but it's very short notice, I think, on things. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Last thing I agree with Tim here. This isn't a shot. I agree. He says, quote, I think out of respect and complete failure at reporting and transparency towards the community, none of the current special council members should run for this quote unquote new version of the role. Nothing personal, of course, just my 2 cents. No more dumb shit. I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't even know who the current special council members are. Change is needed.
Yeah. And I think they are making changes. We see with Cam and One and what Cam's, thread that he put out there. So, tentatively excited to see kind of what they do there, because they're trying to build some new stuff. So I think there is change on the horizon, but yeah, I think a lot of discussions there. But
and in closing, you should check out Lord of the Files before Friday.
Yeah, I'll look if I can. I'm just pretty bogged down, so I'll try to see what the whole thing is. I just don't.
I mean,
know.
It'll take, you can get the whole thing done in a few minutes. But the quick TLDR is you can mint a character. It's 2,000 dude. I minted 3. I think it starts today. There's like a game. The best way I can describe it would be like the on-chain Squid Game type of thing. Each day the chosen one is selected from each department. There's like some X interaction. I'm not sure exactly how it plays out, but you're basically competing for this pool of what's approaching 5 million dude. And I don't know how that's distributed. Again, I don't know hardly anything about it, but I'm going to ask the team, why didn't you talk about it before on TGJ? Why didn't you talk about leading up to TGJ? These are head scratching to me. Also, by the way, I'm glad we didn't forget. I almost forgot. I know we're going to bring them on Friday. There is also a space today with Laura and OpenSea hosting the dude team at noon. Yes, 12 p.m. Eastern. I'm pinning this up top right now. I told Laura I would for the reminder. So if you've not yet, if you can attend that, go jump in that space today at noon. Maybe I will heckle from the chat and ask them why they didn't announce Lord of the Flies pre-TG. I'm kidding. I won't do that. But yeah, Burnt Toast and Dude telling the future of storytelling today at noon Eastern here on X, hosted by Laura and the OpenSea team.
Shout out. I'll be looking forward to that. We'll try to attend that if I can. But yeah, no, should be a good one. And I'll try to check out the Lord of the Files thing. I'm just, I'm trying to figure out try to figure out if it's something I want to participate in or not. But I'm glad they have a sync for Dude. I'm glad they have something going on. Like, I'd like to see them continue to do things like this because, yeah, have fun. Give a reason for the token. Give people a reason to hold. And it's like, I think at current price is like $30,000 of Dude or something in the pot. So should be a good opportunity for those who are Dude holders. I think the market cap 43 million, FTB at 56 million. I think I didn't sell right away, but selling at 75 and 80 million actually turned out to be a pretty good play. Even if I were to buy back in here at the same exact amount, I'd have some solid.
I got a small moon back I kept, but I moved most of my Dude into I think I doubled my Billy stack, and I bought some more Pingu.
Interesting theory there.
Not much. Just did a little bit of moving around and betting on Billy.
Betting on Billy bets. Any other cleanup before we let everyone get out of here?
Yeah, but I forgot what it was. There was something else I was supposed to hit on, but we'll hit it tomorrow.
Hit it tomorrow. We got Bunch coming on. We were gonna have the Dude team, but it looks like they're coming on Friday instead. So be ready for that.
Hit that reminder at the top of the carousel. Will be pinned all the way to the left.
Hit the reminder of the carousel. That said, we'll let everyone get out of here. We will talk to everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.